right back to more of it. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN.
On the ground is short. Mason's got it, flipped to second, and the Cardinals have won the series. Riley O'Brien, couple of walks, but a couple of strikeouts and a ground out seals a 7-4 victory in Game 2.
Well, Chip, the offense had an approach early and often against the ever-dangerous Edward Cabrera, scattering hits left and right.
That was a dynamic baseball game. We did a lot of things well. I like the overall approach offensively. We, again, used the whole field. I mean, everyone was shooting that 4-hole, and it worked out really well. We were able to steal some bases. What Mason did today, I mean, he's one of the most dynamic players in the game. Like, that was a really good showcase of what he's capable of doing. So happy about that, but overall, a really well-played game.
That is what it's supposed to look like alongside T-Bone and Bradford. I'm BK. Alex out again today. He'll be back in with us next week. T-Bone, Cardinals get a win last night, 7-4 against the Marlins. On the road, did damage against Edward Cabrera. Finished the game with 12 hits. I did not see that one coming. I did not think the offense would be able to put up that much production against Cabrera, who's been quite good this season. That is what the Cardinals offense has looked like most of the season when they've been at their best. They're able to string together hits. The sequencing is right. Last night, you end up going 4 for 15 with runners in scoring position. You get them on, you get them over, you get them in. It's ABC baseball. Cardinals have been good at that for most of the season, with some droughts spread throughout because it's really hard to win this way, T-Bone. And this was one of my biggest takeaways from the last couple of games. Cardinals produced at least 10 hits in at least 7 runs in each of the past 2 games. They have done so despite having just 1 extra base hit in either of those 2 games. A homer and a double, and that's it. Extra bases have been hard to come by for the Cardinals. So let's go ahead and look at this. If you expand and look at not just the Cardinals, but all of Major League Baseball, last night was just the 7th time this season that a team scored at least 7 runs with their only extra base hit coming on a double. No triples, no homers, 7+ runs, only 1 extra base hit being a double. It was the 7th time this season that any team has accomplished that. Monday night, going back 2 games to the first game in Miami, was only the 7th time this season that a team scored at least 8 runs with their only extra base hit coming on a home run. They were the 2nd team to do so without a stolen base. The Cardinals are doing things that are extremely difficult to accomplish. Very few teams win this way. Now, yesterday, they did so with stolen bases. That's manufacturing slug. That's a great way to go about it. Honestly, it's what the Brewers did to start out the season before they started slugging like crazy over the last month or so when they went on that, 14-game winning streak or whatever. But, T-Bone, this is the formula for the Cardinals right now. They've got to string together these hits because, frankly, they just don't have the slug. Did you enjoy watching it? Was it fun for you over the last couple of days?
People are not going to like this. No, I did not enjoy watching them single the baseball to death to move runners over. Look, it is ABC baseball, and you do have to be good at the little things, right? We talked about this earlier this week on the Brewers when Ken Rosenthal was like, hey, screw analytics. Like, they're just good at, like, simple baseball. Yes, you got to be good at this, but, man, it is such a hard formula to win with. And it's why you see the Cardinals go through stretches where they do get shut out in like 3 of 5 or 3 of 6 because you can't constantly win by just singling teams to death. You have to slug. And I personally enjoy that more. Like, give me the 5-hit game where 2 of those 5 hits are home runs and 2 of them are doubles, and boom, I've got a 4 spot on the board. This whole shooting the ball the other way, it's good approach. I like it. It's just it's not sexy, and T-Bone likes sexy.
I
slug,
love
baby,
watching
slug.
it. I like the stolen bases as well. Getting the action in the game is something that I enjoy watching. Just as a baseball fan, it's a style of baseball that I really like. I like watching good defense. I like watching first to third. I like watching first to home. You know how much I love that, T-Bone.
I know. No wonder why you love this team.
And I like stolen bases. So that style of ball, it definitely plays for me. I can also, though, recognize, well, yes, it's an enjoyable brand of baseball for me to watch. It's also an extremely difficult brand to put on tape on a consistent basis, right? It's like being a basketball team in the NBA right now. and just hitting your mid-range jumpers from start
Not
to
a good
finish.
three-point shooting team.
Yeah, not great at three-point shooting, don't have great big men, but we're really good in the mid-range game. All right, is that going to sustain over 82 games? Because generally speaking, it's not a great way to win in 2025 in the NBA. You want to step back about 3 steps, get behind that three-point line. It's a more efficient shot. You can make fewer of them. It counts for more points. It's worthy of stepping back a little bit. That's who the Cardinals are. The Cardinals are a good mid-range jumper team.
I wonder why I don't like them.
And 25 years ago, that could work. Well, that's the middle of the steroid era. 35 years ago, that could work.
Yeah, the 80s, this would be a great team.
In today's game, not so much. You have to get some kind of slugging, or you can do what you did last night, and you steal 4 bags, and you get the athleticism showcased. They've stolen multiple bags, though, in a game just 16 times this year. The Brewers and the Cubs, to put that in context, have done so 35 times apiece. So the Brewers have done it 35 times, Cubs 35 times. You have done it 16 times. You steal 4 bags, looks great, manufacture slug, get them over to second base without the next guy having to get a hit or sacrifice him over. They're 20th in stolen bases this year. The only teams in Major League Baseball, T-Bone, in the bottom 10 in both slugging percentage, you're never going to believe this, the Cardinals are, and stolen bases, Cardinals are 20th, are the Cardinals, White Sox, Rockies, and Giants.
Oh, that's not good company.
So the 2 worst teams in baseball, White Sox and Rockies, they don't do anything well. You could look up any statistic, they're bottom 10. And then the Cardinals and the Giants are paired with them. It's not the company you want to keep. The Cardinals at some point have to figure out, what are we going to be as an offense? Are we going to be built on athleticism, which means that we're stealing bases like crazy? That's fine. You can build that way. It's not the easiest way to go about it because you need multiple guys to be in line with that, but you can do it. Or are we going to be built as a slugging team where we're at least top half of the league, hopefully top 10 in the league in slugging percentage? Generally speaking, guys that slug, for the most part, do not do a ton of running. Now, there are exceptions to that rule, and they are superstars. Ronald Acuna Jr., Shohei Ohtani, these guys, Bobby Witt Jr., Jose Ramirez. There's a reason why they're paid the way that they are, the way that they're viewed in Major League Baseball. The Cardinals have to pick a lane. I don't know which one is more likely for them because I don't think they're particularly close on either of those 2 lanes. But this, to me, is something that they need to figure out in the offseason. What is a way that we can add to the manufactured slug or the actual slug with our personnel?
Yeah, watching them over the last couple of days, and it really kind of sparked my interest when I saw Mason Wynn steal 2 bases last night. And I'm like, man, every year, the last 2 years, I feel like I've been like, okay, maybe this is the year Mason Wynn starts to steal some bases. And then you look up and he's still not even at, I believe, 10 yet. I watched them last night and I go, man, they just need more athletes when it comes to building their roster towards, because I think they've got a couple that can kind of fit into this. Mason Wynn is one of them. Victor Scott's a hell of an athlete in steals, and he's really the guy that's carrying their 20th place in stolen bases this season. Watching them, I feel like, okay, they don't have the power, to your point on they've got to pick a lane. I don't know where their slug's coming from internally. I would like to see them when they sell off pieces in the offseason, like if they trade Newport and say they go for prospects in return and rather than going for big league help. And if they're acquiring position players, I want to see them get better athletes. And that's not to take a shot at like a guy like Alec Burleson or a Lars Nootbaar, but they've got a bunch of average to below average athletes when you watch them on the field. The only guys that I would say are above average are Mason Wynn and Victor Scott. Maybe Ivan Herrera, because he's sneakily starting to steal some bases, but I would probably put him more towards the average category.
He's a decent athlete. I wouldn't put him in the great category. I would say Sajasi has this capability, by the way. I think we've seen more of his speed implemented into his game recently, and I like it. I think this is something that should be a part of his game. He's faster than I think people give him credit for. I don't know why, but I never really viewed him as this great athlete. He is. He's a really good athlete. He's a really good runner. So Sajasi would be another guy that I would put into that category.
But this is what I want to see them get closer towards, is just more better athletes to where you can potentially be a team that is a little bit more aggressive on the base paths. Maybe make up for some of the lack of slug that is in your lineup, like you talked about with the Milwaukee Brewers before they started hitting for power. Because right now, every year, it feels like we come into spring training and I hear Ollie Marmol say, like, hey, we want to be more aggressive. We want to get on the base paths. And it's like, okay, I get it. I don't know where it's coming from, though, because I look at your roster and I don't see where you're going to have two guys that steal 20 bases in a season. So that is one thing that just watching them recently has really stuck out to me of, okay, I would like to see this team get better athletes. That doesn't mean better defenders. That doesn't necessarily mean guys that are like great base runners per se. Just better athletes when you watch them on the field because they look kind of sluggish. They look kind of slow right now as a team, as a full unit.
More guys like the first position player you just selected in the draft in the form of a Ryan Mitchell. But you're right, guys, insofar as it is a wholesale change that you have to make because you can sprinkle in some of these parts. You can get excited about guys who are down the road around the corner, but it's not as if right now you have that makeup within your roster, on your current roster, to see it in a sustainable way. That's the thing. We need more guys like a Mitchell, you would presume, moving forward.
Weatherholt, too. I think Weatherholt's going to bring some of that. I don't know that he's going to be a 40 stolen base guy or anything crazy, but he could probably get you 20. I would think 15 to 20 should be in his range of outcomes. So they are also, I mean, people have brought him up on the text line. Jordan Walker is somebody that should fit into this criteria as well. The problem for him is you have to get on base to be able to steal bases. And he doesn't get on base at a very high clip. That's going to be the future for Victor Scott. If he can get on base at a, 340 clip, doesn't have to be anything crazy, but get on base 34% of the time, he could be a real weapon on the bases. They just have to get him on base more often than what he has been so far in his career. Really impressive game for the Cardinals last night. End up with double-digit hits once again. Get a win, 7-4 on the road at Miami. They've won the first two games, won the series in this one against the Miami Marlins. Back in action this evening with Andre Palante taking the mound against Sandy Alcantara. That game begins at 5:40. Alongside T-Bone and Bradford, I'm BK. 314-399-9646 is the Your Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. YouTube chat is always off and running at youtube.com/101 ESPN STL. Coming up in about 15 minutes or so, the Blues front office earned high praise for the way that they've been operating over the last couple of seasons. We'll give you the full letter grade from fans in about 15 minutes. Questions and answers at 11:45. But next, the big news we're anticipating today is on the Mizzou quarterback competition. It seems to be coming down to the wire. What do we think the announcement will be later on today? We'll give you our projection on that next here on BK and Ferrario.
Start your day with the morning after on 101 ESPN. Get in the know first on everything St. Louis sports with Tim McKernan, Doug Vaughn, and Martin Kilcoy. Listen to TMA weekday mornings from 7 to 11 a.m. on 101 ESPN. The morning after is presented by Brown and Crouppen Law Firm. This is exactly where you want to be listening to us. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN.
This has been something that's kept me up every night and keeps, wakes me up in the morning. I think those guys have played really good, both of them, really well. In fact, the 2-minute, 4-minute just kind of sealed it in my mind. Like, my gosh, these guys both can play at a high level and win. So what that means moving forward, I don't know yet. I just got off the field today. But we'll start UCA prep tomorrow, and we'll have a decision and talk to both those guys here in the next 24 hours about what we're going to do and make sure the team's comfortable with the plan moving forward, and we'll let y'all know.
That was Eli Drinkwitz yesterday after Mizzou's final practice of the fall season alongside T-Bone and Bradford on BK. Mizzou begins its preparation for Central Arkansas very soon. T-Bone, they will play that game next Thursday night. And we do not yet know which of the quarterbacks will start that game or if both quarterbacks will play in that game. Now, there's expected to be some kind of an announcement today. That's all Eli Drinkwitz would tell us. There will be an announcement today on the quarterback plan. That could be, hey, Bo Pribula is our quarterback. He's going to be the guy that we start. He will be the one that we trust this season. It could be, Sam Horn is our quarterback. Congratulations to the young man. He was drafted by the Dodgers, and now he's the starting quarterback at Mizzou. More power to you. It could be, it's too close to call. We are going to go with both of these guys. They are going to see time against Central Arkansas, and we will make an announcement after that game for the Kansas game to determine our starter for the rest of the season. He would not give us an indication on which of those is going to be the case. T-Bone, what is your expectation? What do you think will happen for Mizzou later on this afternoon, most likely, when they announce something in regards to the quarterback situation?
Yeah, I kind of think Drink's going to troll and announce both as starting quarterbacks for this game. He'll say we have a QB1, and then the picture will be two different guys up there. But I think right now, if I had to guess on like which one of these two they're leaning towards, I think it's Pribula. I think he's going to be the guy that they're going to lean towards and choose because it feels like a more stable option, if you can really say that, for a guy that hasn't really played that much football as he was the backup at Penn State. But I think they're going to go with him, and I think it's two things for me. One, it is the fact that he can be viewed more as a runner in itself, so there's a little bit more elements that you can add to the offense if you're the Missouri Tigers. Meanwhile, Sam Horn feels more like a upside play with a cannon of an arm, but you don't know what the inconsistencies are going to look like with that. So my guess is they're going to go more the safer route, go with Pribula, see what it looks like against Central Arkansas, hope that it looks good, and then really hope that he looks good against Kansas. And the other factor in this too, and like I can't believe we're here, they also paid this guy in the transfer portal to come be the quarterback. So, like, we're at a point in college athletics now to where, I can't believe I'm saying this, the contract plays, and I wonder if that's going to be a driving factor in this as well. They spent NIL money to acquire him. I think they're going to go with Pribula. That would be my guess as we're sitting here today.
First of all, when it comes down to next Thursday against Central Arkansas, really it's much ado about nothing in my mind because you're going to roll, in all likelihood, with Pribula. You're also going to incorporate Horn into the festivities for week number 1. I'm more fascinated by not necessarily what happens even in that particular game, Tanner, but to your point, basically, the ways in which you think, and Kirby Moore as well, that Bo Pribula can accentuate and really augment what you were doing offensively scheme-wise. Because to me, BK, the whole premise here, the whole objective of your offense, your identity is going to be rooted in what it can accomplish on the ground. You don't just bring in a guy who could end up being one of the most effective D1 running backs in an Ahmad Hardy if you're not going to pound it accordingly. The versatility that Pribula gives you, it's well documented, and I think it plays to the strengths of this unit. Horn is the upside play, granted, from an aerial standpoint, but I do think so much of Mizzou's offense in the early weeks this season is going to revolve around being close to the line of scrimmage, utilizing Kevin Coleman out of the slot. This falls in line, if you do wind up going with Pribula, I think more so to the tune of what you would like to achieve early in the season, even if it is really tantalizing the arm action there of Horn. But we'll see both on Thursday.
Yeah, I think the announcement's going to be that both are going to play.
Yeah.
My guess is you'll see an announcement with both of them standing there, similar to the announcement that they made with the captains, whereas both quarterbacks are captains for the 2025 Missouri football team. I think both of them will play against Central Arkansas. I do think it'll be interesting to find out who gets the first crack at it, who lines up on the field first with the first team offense, I think it would be hilarious if Eli Drinkwitz trolled all of us and put both of them on the field together. Sam Horn wears number 21, so it would be perfect for him to just like line up as a running back, have the two offset running backs in a shotgun formation, Ahmad Hardy on one side, Sam Horn on the other, go with the two receivers, and let's see what happens on that first play. I think that would be amazing. I don't know how likely it is, but I think both will play against Arkansas or Central Arkansas. My guess is one of them will get the first quarter, the other will get the second quarter, and then they'll make a decision on how to play it out in the second half. Hopefully it doesn't matter. Hopefully they're up by so much at that point that they can play their third string quarterback in Matt Zollers, and he gets to finish out the third and fourth quarter of the game. But I think that's the way they will, and I think that's the way they should play this out. There is no real upside to making this decision right now unless you are certain of it. If you're certain, then go ahead. But it sure seems like everything that has been said by Eli Drinkwitz publicly, everything that has been written and mentioned by people that have been at practices day to day, this is really close. They're different stylistically. Prabula's more certain. He's a guy that's going to be better underneath. He's going to be more accurate. He's going to be more consistent. And Horn is the guy that has bigger upside. He's got a big arm, cannon of an arm. He can threaten downfield a little bit more. He's also more inconsistent. That's been the report so far at fall camp. So let's see what it looks like in a game. You haven't seen these two play in a Missouri uniform against a real team just yet. So go find out what it looks like against Central Arkansas, who, yeah, they're not the same level of competition as Kansas, sure, but find out what these guys look like under the lights. There's really no downside to doing so. So that would be my anticipation. You'll see them both against Central Arkansas. I have reached out to people that are close to the program. Nobody knows. Nobody knows with any kind of certainty who it's going to be. I would say the lean is more Bo Prabula than Sam Horn, but I've heard Sam Horn's name mentioned as well. I certainly heard him mentioned at the beginning of camp as somebody that you should not write off the notion that he could be the starter this year. So I truly do not know. My guess is they will announce that both will play going into that first night. All right, Bradford, I skipped this yesterday. I apologize. I messed up. The listeners were asking for it. We told them that we would give it to them, and then we skipped it on the first opportunity that we had. Thankfully, we still have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and next Monday.
This is true.
For Bradford's college football corner. He's got his college football connection. This is very different. This is 2 minutes of his best college football content right here on BK and Ferrario. You're getting 4 of them over the next 4 days. Bradford, let's do this.
It's time for the 2-minute drill.
Well, guys, we've already spent that hot minute on the Mizzou quarterback situation, so I want to go elsewhere in the nation, specifically that shoe. The defending national champion OSU will enter its season opener against Texas with a brand new quarterback itself. That would be Julian Sayin. So he was the number 9 recruit in the class of 2024. Only got that cup of coffee last season as Will Howard was outstanding down the stretch. So Sayin beats out Lincoln Keyholtz right off of the bat. We'll see for how long that actually lasts. But among the other CFP participants, hey, Notre Dame also with its own new guy, the redshirt freshman. That would be CJ Carr, grandson of, yes, that Lloyd Carr, so the Fighting Irish, replacing Riley Leonard, going with a newcomer as well. But elsewhere in SEC land, okay, we'll probably talk a little bit more about this tomorrow conference-wide, but there's no controversy at the helm of Florida. DJ Lagway no longer has Graham Mertz, about whom to worry, of course, but did you know Lagway is just now starting to get reps, actually, as Florida is ramping up its fall camp. And I know there's a lot of press out there for Lagway, anticipating maybe that he could be this season's Lenora Sellers. Well, pump the brakes on that for the moment, because this young man, so far, granted it's early, hasn't been able to stay healthy whatsoever. Last year had that opportunity once Mertz tore the ligament in the knee versus Tennessee to take over, but he has undergone problems when it comes to the shoulder, when it comes to the calf, and really for the preservation of Billy Napier this season in Florida. You can say what you want. Last year, closing it down with 4 victories in a row, a tough schedule once again, but Lagway taking that next step is going to be paramount to preserving the job in Gatorland there if Napier is to stay put for one more season. I am still very dubious of the record and the schedule.
That was a good 2 minutes. All right, T-Bone, out of curiosity, are you familiar with Lloyd Carr?
No.
I was wondering. When he said Lloyd Carr, I was like, his final year in Michigan had to be when you were like 6 years old.
When was it?
Sometimes I forget.
2007.
Sometimes I forget.
He was there for almost 15 years. Won a national championship with them.
No recollection of this Lloyd Carr fella. I would have been, you said 2007, so this time, 2007, I would have just turned 8 years old. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't really remember.
Lloyd Carr, look him up. He was a very good college football coach at one point in time.
Can we have a moment of honesty,
Michigan.
too? Netflix just released the Cowboys thing on there, so I started watching that last night. I had no idea Jimmy Johnson coached Miami.
Oh, really?
Did not know. Always knew him as the Cowboys head coach.
Kind of what he became famous for.
Yeah, no idea. I'm catching up on the times on how the Cowboys became, America's team.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
Were you familiar with Emmitt Smith? He was a running back in the 90s.
I knew
he was
Smith.
quite good. Deion Sanders, have you heard of him?
Team. Yeah,
Did you know he played football and baseball?
That I knew. But for some reason, I knew about the team. That offense I knew about. Deion I knew about Jimmy Johnson, had no idea that he coached.
Have you enjoyed the
football.
documentary? I haven't started it yet.
I think it's kind of cheesy,
Okay.
I don't know how to describe it. It's all in these weird backgrounds. They filmed it at a Tex-Mex restaurant, and that's how Jerry Jones wanted it to be done. And Jerry Jones comes off as this I don't know how I would describe him, but just super cheesy. I don't like it.
Yeah, so he's Jerry Jones?
Yeah.
Let's bring it full
Did they bring
circle.
up the White House at all?
White House, not yet. I've only watched the first two episodes because I'm not even I think I'm in 92 maybe, where they're trying to become the team of the 90s. So, but yeah, it's just it's kind of weirdly
shot. Any of the
shot.
parties or anything that have become famous since?
Oh, not yet, but I think those are coming. I saw that in the trailer.
Better or worse than Swamp Kings? And BK, I saw your antenna go up a bit there when it came to the Lagway pronouncement.
Swamp Kings, I thought was terrible.
I didn't watch.
I thought Swamp Kings was terrible.
Yeah,
did not enjoy it at all. They skipped over half of the stuff that I would have actually been interested in. I did not think it was a good job.
Yeah.
I think Lagway is amazing. I really, really like DJ Lagway. I don't know if Florida has the potential to be amazing. I think he could be potentially very special, though. So,
for sure.
I don't necessarily disagree with your overall premise on Florida, but I'm a big fan of DJ Lagway.
I feel that way about South Carolina, too. I like Sellers, but it's South Carolina. Do they have enough around him to really prop themselves up?
Have you ever heard of Michael Jordan? He's also a big guy in the 90s.
Basketball guy? Yeah.
Not letting this go. Not letting it go.
He also played
that
baseball.
One I know. And I knew that, too. I read his books. He was kind of a big deal even when I was in school.
What about Hakeem Olajuwon?
I've heard of him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know who he played for?
Houston, right?
Okay. Yeah.
I was taking you back even
just
more.
making sure. Clyde Drexler.
I know the name.
Okay.
Supersonics?
Close enough. No.
Western Conference.
Yeah. You got the right conference.
Houston?
Yeah, they were teammates.
Oh.
All right, with T-Bone and Bradford, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we're going to get into questions and answers. But next, the Blues front office earned its way into the top 10 in the NHL, according to you, the fans. We'll give you the answers from the Athletics' latest poll next here on 101 ESPN.
101 ESPN is powered by Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's injury lawyers. Call 314-500-5000.
We've got your chance to win a 4-pack of passes to Monster Jam. Saturday, September 20th at the Dome at America's Center. Get ready to cheer, scream, and be amazed as massive Monster Jam trucks and world champion drivers take over St. Louis for the ultimate day packed with high-flying action and jaw-dropping stunts.
Get all the info and enter to win that free 4-pack of tickets for Monster Jam. Now at 101ESPN.com or on your 101 mobile app.
Get real and limited data on a reliable 5G.
Saturday, college football is back on ESPN. Kansas and Fresno State. Pre-game at 5. Kickoff at 5:30. The NCAA plays on 101 ESPN. 101 ESPN Sports Center.
Cards embrace clobbering time again. I'm Bradford Bruns. Your Sports Center update is driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Last night in Miami, St. Louis belted out double-digit hits for the second straight game, beating its NL East foe 7-4. Michael McGreevy pitched 6 innings, fanning 5 before Riley O'Brien earned his second career save. Today's series finale begins at 5:40. Tomorrow, STL visits Tampa. College football, Mizzou has officially wrapped up fall camp. Head coach Eli Drinkwitz's quarterback decision looms with that August 28th opener against Central Arkansas nearing. This SportsCenter update was driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet plus Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
They are St. Louis. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN.
T-Bone, when I woke up today, there was a piece on The Athletic. It was written by Dom. You know that means I'm going to click on it. It's the NHL front office confidence rankings heading into 2025. Now, this one is a bit different. This is not based on any of his algorithms. This is based upon the voting among the fans. So there are fans of the team and just the public fans, not fans of the St. Louis Blues, that voted on this, that went into the overall rankings. There's no surprises necessarily in this, especially in the top 5. The number 1 most trusted organization, front office, according to the fans, both public and the fan base, is the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, that one checks out.
Yeah, they got an A+ across the board. Not exactly surprising considering how well they have done constructing that roster. The other team that was at the top of the list was the Dallas Stars. They were second last year. They are second this year once again. They got an A overall. Beyond that, the top 5 continues. Carolina Hurricanes at 3, Tampa Bay Lightning at 4, and at number 5, the Montreal Canadiens. That one did surprise me a little bit, but they've done a good job in constructing this group, and I really liked their move this offseason. It obviously affected the Blues, but I thought it was smart to acquire Zach Bolduc. So I think they've done a good job there. Top 6 last year, top 5 this year. Golden Knights coming in at number 6 overall. You scroll down a little bit more, the St. Louis Blues come in at number 10. They got a B+ overall, including mostly B+ for the fan base in roster building, drafting and developing, free agency, vision, and overall. They did get an A- on trading and a B- for the cap management. Timo, this is a hell of a spike considering last year they were at 23rd in the NHL. The front office was in terms of the trust level from this fan base. Couple of good offer sheets, good decision on the head coach, nice trade for Cam Fowler midseason, and suddenly you find yourself right back into the top 10. Does this align with how you currently view the Blues front office and how much faith you have in them?
Yeah, I think so. I think 10th place out of the grouping of 32 teams feels about right. And then the grades on everything that you look at, roster building, B+, feels right to me. I'd argue maybe even an A-. Draft and development, they've been very good at. Trading, Army's been excellent at. I mean, that goes to the Cam Fowler point that you mentioned. Their vision on this retool, for a little bit there, I didn't see it, but they were able to really accelerate it this past offseason. You know, going into last season, prior to the offer sheets, it was hard for me, to be honest, of looking at where they were going as a team because I didn't really see it. You had Kyrou Thomas, but we were questioning, do you have the right core in place? And then you really accelerated this retool to where they're kind of saying they're still in it. If they are, they're at the back end getting ready to enter their next competitive window. But Holloway and Broberg accelerated that. Bringing in Cam Fowler was the type of move that they needed at the time to kind of bring in reinforcements. And then you mentioned it, the head coach of hiring Jim Montgomery. I was skeptical of moving on from Drew Bannister just because I didn't think they were in a spot to where this roster had much to squeeze out of it. And Jim Montgomery proved me wrong. So, yeah, I think this is right. And the fact now that the cap has spiked, some of their bigger contracts look a little bit better. I don't think they have necessarily a bad contract that is immediately going to affect the team. They've got some higher salaries like Shen and Falk maybe that aren't living up to that, but it's not like it was 2 years ago where you're like, wow, that Falk contract, they've got to find a way to get it from out under it.
I would say the thing that impresses me maybe most about what they have done over the past few seasons is their ability to continuously pivot. When they find new avenues to improve the roster, generally speaking, they've done it. Whether that be at the end of a season, going through the waivers process to get Jakub Vrana and Kasperi Kapanen. Now, did those work to the nth degree? No, but it was smart moves to bring in guys that could potentially help you. Or if it was finding ways that are unique that most teams do not utilize, such as an offer sheet, to go acquire not one, but two players that now fit into the core of what is hopefully going to be the next window of contention. Or, hey, what we believe to be an A-plus coach just hit the market. We're not necessarily in the market for a coach, but this is too good of an opportunity to pass up. Let's go hire him. And they go out and they make that move. So many times we talk about these. Think about what we do with the Cardinals, right? We'll go into the offseason. I heard the Fast Lane mention this yesterday. We'll talk about a couple of years ago, that shortstop class. We knew there was probably not much of a chance that they would sign them. But the opportunity did exist, and it could have been a creative way for them to go about it. A couple of years ago, I think this was heading into the 2024 season, they had an opportunity. We mentioned Sonny Gray, and then we talked about like trading for Robbie Ray. That would have been a smart move for the Cardinals. High upside, but yes, there is some risk associated with it. He ended up getting traded. He's been very good since to the San Francisco Giants. And you looked at it at the time, it's like, man, this is an opportunity that could exist for them that makes sense. Instead, they go with Kyle Gibson and Lance Lynn, the low risk, low reward signings. The Blues just find ways under Doug Armstrong to unearth new opportunities. They explore everything. They trade Zach Bolduc for Mayu when Bolduc's peak value is still there. People are still excited about Zach Bolduc. The Cardinals version of this is, well, we have to keep Zach Bolduc. How could we possibly get rid of him? He's a homegrown, cost-controlled player. Yeah, but he's what you have.
Yeah.
You have a lot of him. The Cardinals have that on the position player side of things, and instead of trading from that surplus while they still have immense value, they wait and wait and wait, and now trade Dylan Carlson for a reliever that's DFA'd 2 weeks later. Wait. Now they trade Tyler O'Neill for a reliever and a minor league pitcher, neither of whom are within the organization any longer. So it all adds up to, yeah, there's a reason that Blues fans trust this front office. It's because they've earned that with the way they've been able to pivot in what is maybe the most difficult thing to do in professional sports, which is to avoid the tank and to still find a way through and get yourself back up to contention. That is not an easy thing to do, and they've done it pretty damn quickly, all things considered.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned it. I was just thinking that as you were talking, that they do the things that the Cardinals don't do, as the Cardinals just kind of sit and stagnate and wait to see what occurs. Blues are willing to make decisions and say, okay, this didn't work. Here's what we have to do. Think about how quickly they've revamped this defensive core. I mean, this defense was supposed to be this puck-moving, smaller-sized defenseman. They thought the future was the Torrey Krugs, the Justin Falks, puck-moving, point-producing defensemen. And they've quickly pivoted back towards size, where they go out and they acquire Philip Broberg. They have Logan Mailloux, who brings a little bit of that offensive upside, but also has pretty good size as well, along with Colton Parayko in that conversation as well. Cam Fowler, same way. Tucker's that way. I love the way that they are, to your point, able to pivot and move quickly and make decisions, because that's the problem with the Cardinals, is it takes them about 3 years to figure out what they have, and by then, you're right, they get stuck in the Tyler O'Neill phase, the Dylan Carlson phase of, okay, now we're not able to make these moves, and if we do, we get nothing of real value in return. The Blues move on from Zach Bolduc, a guy that could end up getting even better from this year, right? This could be their Randy Arozarena trade.
They could lose this trade, and it could look really bad 2 years from now. Army's not afraid to be wrong. That is such a big thing as an executive, man. Sometimes you've got to take your shot and find out, hey, we're betting on this. We trust our evaluation of the players. We've been right most of the time. I think we're right on this. Let's make the move. He did that with the offer sheets. It was a risk. It was a worthwhile and a calculated risk, but it was a risk nonetheless. They thought they would be right, and they've been proven correct. The Cam Fowler trade was a risk. Mm-hmm. There was inherent risk involved in making that move. they were right. Going out there and firing their coach in season to get Jim Montgomery. That is a risk. It did not end well for Montgomery in Boston. It could not have worked out any better for the St. Louis Blues. It is also worth noting it was a risk to let Petro walk over a no-move clause. That one ended horribly, but it was a risk to let David Backes walk. That one went really well for the Blues. So more often than not, they've been right, but they're unafraid to make difficult decisions. And if there has been one criticism that I do think is very fair about the Cardinals front office in the last probably 5 to 6 years, they are unwilling, A, to make those risks, and B, to admit when they're wrong. And I think those are two qualities that have put them into really bad situations in recent seasons. With T-Bone and Bradford on BK, coming up next, questions and answers here on 101 ESPN.
You can now watch 101 ESPN live on our Air Alliance team studio cams. Catch every show live on our YouTube channel or at 101ESPN.com. 101 ESPN studio cams.
Presented by the Air Alliance Team Heating and Cooling. Getting the job done quickly, correctly, 100% of the time.
Giving you the picture, the real big St. Louis sports picture. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN. You've got questions, we may have the answers. Maybe. It's BK and Ferrario's questions and answers on 101 ESPN.
All right, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and get them in right now on the Air Comfort Service text line. From the 636, guys, quick question for you. Do you think the Cardinal way was actually just Albert Pujols being great?
Yeah, I think it was a part of it. I don't think it was the full thing, because I think the full thing for the Cardinal way was they were great defensively. They were the sound baseball team. They didn't make mistakes that led to extra runs like we've seen in recent weeks from the Cardinals. And they just were a pitching factory, too. They were ahead of the times with the sinker ballers that keep the ball on the ground. But, yeah, Albert was like a factor in this, too.
He was to the Cardinal way what Tom Brady was to the Patriot way. The Patriot way doesn't exist without Tom Brady. That doesn't mean that Tom Brady was the sole reason that the Patriots were successful. They had the greatest defensive mind maybe in the history of football. They had crazy talent on those first. When they won the first 3 out of 4, the defensive side of the ball was really the driving force behind those Super Bowl victories. And then, 07, they add Randy Moss into the mix. Early 2010s, they go to the 2 tight end offense, and they have Wes Welker at some point in that stretch as well. So they had a lot of stuff that went into it. Game planning wise, they were insane. Just every week they would have a new game plan for that specific team instead of having the classic, like, we do what we do type of mentality. So the Patriots were hyper specific, but none of that's possible without arguably the greatest quarterback in the history of the sport. The Cardinals were similar. Cardinals did a ton of things right from basically 98 up until 2015. But a big part of that success, yes, was having one of the greatest right-handed hitters in the history of baseball. So, yes, it was important. It was not the sole reason why they were successful, though. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. From Magic Beans, question for you. You may have already answered this, but who is the one player not in the fold for the Blues currently that you think will make the most noise this season? Interesting. Not in the... I guess I'll say Dalibor Dvorsky, because I don't really see many openings on this team.
Yeah.
Kaskamaki is a guy that people will bring up. Nikita Alexandrov is somebody that people would bring up. That's probably the list.
Yeah, they don't have anybody like defensively that will move into that category. Yeah, I think I would agree. Dvorsky's probably the answer, and because if somebody gets hurt, well, now they got some flexibility. So I don't even know if he would be the first call up.
Maybe you could argue Kessel. I think Kessel will play some this year. He's currently your 7th defenseman.
I thought about if you were going to go goaltending, but it feels like such a stretch. Colton Ellis. If you lose Hofer or Benner for a stretch at all, knock on wood that doesn't happen. Ellis is the guy that's there to get the cup of coffee. The Blues seem to be kind of high on him as the guy that could maybe become Hofer's backup in the future. So maybe if you wanted to go Ellis, but that would require an injury. But yeah, I'd say probably Dvorsky would be the answer for me.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. This one comes from the 314. Bradford, I want to get your thoughts on this for sure. Who is this year's Indiana or SMU? By that, I mean a team currently outside of the top 25 that could make some noise for the playoffs. BK and Bradford, you're not allowed to say Mizzou.
Yeah.
I don't think Mizzou would qualify because there are at least expectations for them this season. One team that I've seen some buzz on that could fit into this criteria would be Nebraska.
Okay.
They've got the quarterback. I really believe in their coach. Now it's just a matter of can they put it all together. So they would be a team that I would throw into the mix for something like this.
I'm curious, what are your reasonable expectations for OU this coming season? Outside of the coach's top 25, you would expect, Venables needs to have a considerable amount of success this season.
I would think if they're not good this year, he's probably going to be fired.
Yeah.
What do I expect from them this season? Honest to God, and I don't say this for just like a bad radio, I don't know. They're a team that I have no idea what to do with. People really like their quarterback. he did it at a much lower level previously, where I don't know, like, how does that translate to the SEC when you're playing like a wild man? I mean, this guy plays similar to like a Diego Pavia. So will that work at Oklahoma? It should. Diego Pavia worked at Vanderbilt, but can he stay healthy playing that way with reckless abandon for 12 games and this kind of a schedule? And their schedule's really difficult. So I think they could get to 7-5 or 8-4. Does that matter at a place like Oklahoma, though? Not really. They need to go like 9-3 for fans to be excited about it. But they play Michigan, Texas, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Alabama, and LSU this year.
It's just like last season.
That's
everybody was talking about last year.
And I didn't mention the game that they play against Missouri. Good luck.
I don't dislike the Sooners prospects. Another team that I'm targeting, actually, and in part because of the conference. I think, to me, guys, the Big 12 totally up for grabs. I'm not anticipating that Arizona State, even Iowa State, has the same sort of success this season. Look at the Baylor Bears. And I do think, actually, you will learn quite a bit next Friday night. That's a good opening week game as well against Auburn. Another team I think that is going to be markedly improved. Baylor has a chance to really do a little bit of damage in the Big 12.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see a team that ends up becoming this year's version of Indiana, because if we're being honest, why did Indiana have so much success? They had a cupcake schedule. Now, they belonged in the playoffs.
New coach bump.
Yeah, and the new coach bump helped too, and he built a good roster. Like, I'm not trying to take a lot away from Indiana. They ended up with a very easy schedule. Absolutely. And they belonged in the playoff, because I believe winning matters, not the whole SEC thing where if you got 4 losses, but we're in the SEC, we're there. One team that I don't know what to make of them. I think they're probably going to be bad, because I think we've just, over time now, we haven't seen it work here. USC, I still don't know what to do with Lincoln Riley, because I kind of like the quarterback that he's got there, and Mavia, however you say his name. He's got some good weapons on offense. The O-line wasn't great last year. The problem with Lincoln Riley, he never builds a defense, and it's kind of important in football, as we've seen. But he's the team, like, I look at USC, and they are either going to be 6-6 or they are going to be 10-2 and be a team that could be in this playoff conversation.
Another conference that I would go to, you mentioned Oklahoma. The SEC is a spot where a lot of these teams have expectations, so it's hard to say with certainty that any of them could do this. But like Texas A&M, I think has a real chance to be a playoff team this year. They're 21st in the rankings right now. So obviously the AP poll did not see them as a top 12 team in the country. They don't necessarily fit into the out of nowhere criteria, but I think Texas A&M has a chance to be the 3rd best team in the SEC. And I think that would be a surprise to most people.
Yeah, you would think the program building there under Elko in year 2, you love what he brings to the table. How much more growth do you see out of Reed at the quarterback position? You also think, yeah, the defense sustained a number of different losses, but
Elko's
his bread.
A stud defensive
Exactly,
mind.
It's his bread and butter. Oh, yeah.
So that would be a team that I would throw into this criteria of, on the outside looking in a bit right now, I think by the end of the season, they could be a top 5 team in the country. That's how I view them currently. So I'll throw them into the mix. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we're going to dive into some NFL quick hitters. But next, what have we learned from the Michael McGreevy experience thus far? And how good would the Cardinals have been if they had just ditched Eric Fetty earlier to go to Michael McGreevy? We'll talk about that next year on 101 ESPN.
101 ESPN has your chance to win a pair of tickets to the St. Louis Blues home opener against the Minnesota Wild on October 9th at Enterprise Center. Blues hockey is right around the corner, and single-game tickets for the 2025-26 season go on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. This upcoming Blues season is stacked with great matchups, can't-miss giveaways, and fan-favorite theme nights. Get more details and get entered to win a pair of free tickets for the Blues home opener now either at 101ESPN.com or on your 101 mobile app.
Let's go!
During the summer months, there's nothing worse than coming home to a hot house or trying to fall asleep with no air conditioning and sticking to your sheets. At Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation, we've been keeping homes and businesses in their comfort zone for over 55 years. We're proud to be the recipient of the BBB Torch Award 2020, the 9-time carrier.
WXOS, WXOS HD1 East St. Louis. 101 ESPN is driven by Auto Centers Nissan, home of the lifetime warranty and 30-day return.
Blues hockey is on 101 ESPN.
Get the inside scoop on and off the ice with the Last Minute Blues podcast with Alex Ferrario, Jeremy Rutherford, and Donnie Fandango.
Blues opinion, talk, and speculation. It's what we do.
Watch or listen to the Last Minute Blues podcast on our YouTube channel or at 101ESPN.com. We're right back to more of it. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN.
Alongside T-Bone and Bradford, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. In 10 minutes, we'll get into some NFL quick hitters. But another solid outing last night from Michael McGreevy. 6 innings, 6 hits allowed, 3 earned runs, 4 runs allowed, but one of them was, bad error. It is what it is. 5 strikeouts, no walks. And T-Bone, this has become a consistent theme with Michael McGreevy this season. Striking a decent number of guys out. It's nothing crazy, but it's solid. And he walks nobody. So far on the season, he has thrown 57 innings for the St. Louis Cardinals at the big league level. And in those 57 innings, he has allowed 7 walks. In fact, this goes back to last year as well. In his major league career, in 80 innings, he has allowed 9 walks. He doesn't give up free passes. And what I find to be really intriguing about Michael McGreevy is that while not walking anybody, he is also still able to maintain solid contact control. What I mean by that is, you mentioned this earlier in our pre-show meeting, T-Bone. It's kind of resembling early career Miles Michaelis, where you don't walk anybody, really good command, and still people are not hitting the crap out of the ball consistently against you. Now, that can go sideways quickly, as we've seen with Miles Michaelis, but so far, I've been pretty darn impressed with Michael McGreevy, T-Bone. What have you made of his starts thus far? How would you categorize your impression of him?
Yeah, he's been good. He's been impressive, and he screams like upside of like a number 3 starter. I think he probably settles in more as a number 4 because he just doesn't have swing and miss. I mean, right now he's striking out 4.9 batters per 9 innings. That's not great. That's not where you want to be living here in the modern day 2022 or 2025. But you can
get away with it if you control contact this way.
But you have to be pinpoint with location, because that's what allows you, to your point, have the contact be at such a low level to where there's not missiles coming off of the bat and finding holes for base hits. Because like last night, you look at that start, man, he had great control. And I think his strikeout number is going to end up getting higher. I don't think it's going to settle in at 5. I think it'll probably be more at like 6 to 7, somewhere in that range per 9 innings. But Like last night, great control. Has the changeup that's working, that's getting swing and miss at the bottom of the zone. He's got the sweeper/slider that's working on the outer part of the plate. And then he was putting the sinker where he wanted it last night. I think he had a strikeout look at one point where he just paints the outside corner. To me, like I think the upside for McGreevy is it's going to be Michaelis-esque. When you had the 2022 season of Miles Michaelis where he goes 3.29 ERA, I don't know if we'll see him get to 2.83 and be an all-star like we did for Michaelis in 2018. Not. But like I could see where in his best year he looks like 2022 Miles Michaelis.
I've got a different comparison for you. I was looking into this last night because I wanted to find out, all right, what has McGreevy been thus far? Who does he compare to? Went over to Baseball Savant, checked out both in terms of the movement profile and the quality of the contact against. Who are some of the pitchers that are similar to him? And there's a few names that we've talked about before. Colin Ray, Quinn Priester are a couple that immediately showed up on that. Another one, though, that I found to be really interesting because of who he has been for his team over the last 5 to 7 years is Mitch Keller. Mitch Keller is 29 years old. He has been a consistent middle-of-the-rotation starter for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And in his 5 full seasons at the major league level, he averages 28 starts, about 160 innings, mid-4s ERA, FIP little better than that, and roughly league average overall. If I told you guys that Michael McGreevy will effectively become what Mitch Keller has been for the Pirates, how do you feel about that as an outcome for Michael McGreevy?
I think that'd be a huge success for the Cardinals. I mean, they haven't developed their version of Mitch Keller, and I don't know how long, but that's a stable mid-rotation arm, as you said. And I think he's going to be able to eat more innings than what Mitch Keller has been able to do. He's only surpassed 190 innings pitched once. I think McGreevy's going to be a consistent, like, 185 to 200 inning thrower. I mean, look at it last night. Like, you look up and you're like, man, he's in the 6th inning. He's giving up 4 runs. I still feel confident about it. And he's at 75 pitches, something ridiculous like that. So I think he's going to be an innings eater. But if he became Mitch Keller, I mean, that's a success for the Cardinals because that's a mid-rotation arm, cost control, and that's a guy that maybe starts a game 3 or 4 for you in a playoff series when you get back to that spot and you don't necessarily feel completely out on the idea of starting him in the playoffs. Would you rather have a better upside play at number 3? Probably, but it's the kind of arm that you don't mind having. And if you're getting right around 4 ERA, yeah, that's a huge win for the Cardinals.
Can I borrow your button right now? Because I will slam it. I will lock it in. Seriously. Keller himself was an all-star, yes, Pittsburgh's representative from a couple of seasons ago, but
we're going to be that bad. He could be our one representative one year.
Frankly, I would contend before the arrival of Skeens, you could definitely assert Keller was the number 1 in Pittsburgh, but I guess that's neither here nor there. When you're looking at the profile, though, BK, I thought that was a really astute comp because you're talking about somebody who, while he may not have the utmost in terms of pure stuff, right, he is able to control the stuff and the ball accordingly, and every single night. You look at the record on the surface. It's abysmal because Pittsburgh is abysmal. It's embarrassing to watch. He's 5-11 this season, but he's somebody who has somehow been able to eclipse that double-digit mark in each of the past 2 seasons. And what is he giving you time in and time out? He is always getting into the 6th inning, sometimes even later. So not only is he giving you that length, he is most typically, until I would say if you look at the last month or 2 of each and every season, that's when he tends to really wear down. But other than that, as far as fitting the profile of being somebody in the middle half to the back end of the rotation, I will absolutely take that degree of certainty and run with it.
From the 314, guys, at one point, Michael McGreevy was the number 4 prospect in the Cardinals system. If this is what he turns into, a 4.5 ERA, that's a failure. Definitely not a success. Man, I just couldn't disagree with that more. I think if you turn Michael McGreevy, who was a late first-round pick, into a starter that you can get for the next 5 to 6 years, cost-controlled, mid to back end of the rotation starter that every year he's going to start 30 games for us. He's going to give us 100. And I don't know that I agree necessarily, T-Bone, with 180 to 200 innings. Those guys just don't really exist anymore. 150 to 180 innings, and we're going to get a mid-4s ERA out of them. Dude, there's value in that. A lot of value, in fact. So much so that the Cardinals have been paying $15 to $20 million a year for it over the last decade. So I'm basically saying, can he be what they wanted Mike Leake to be? Would they paid, $15 million a year for Mike Leake to become for this team? Or what they thought Steven Matz would be, which they paid $11 million a year for? Or what they have had Miles Michaelis at times be for them, which is $15 to $20 million per year? if he could just be that for $2 million a year on average, yeah, I would sign up for that in a heartbeat. And that is absolutely not a failure, especially for a team that has severely lacked the ability to develop these kinds of starters in recent seasons. So I'd sign up for it. I think it would be a really good outcome for Michael McGreevy. And I think that's really the upside for him. I don't know that there's a whole lot more there. And that's okay. That doesn't mean it's any kind of a failure. He is a very specific kind of pitcher that lacks the upside that you have with a Liam Doyle or with a TK Roby in your system. But he is one that should become a major league starter for the next, 5 years for the St. Louis Cardinals. What did they cost themselves by not going to him sooner, though? T-Bone, this is something you brought up earlier today. I am curious. Do you think that there was any kind of a trickle-down effect, any kind of a consequence of them not getting him here earlier when Eric Fetty was going through his struggles this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're right in the playoff race if they go to McGreevy sooner rather than continuing to run out Fetty for basically 4 or 5 straight starts where you knew you really had no chance in those games. And what do you know? They're 5 games back of the last wild card spot. If they make the move to McGreevy sooner, I think there's a chance. I'm not saying that they're in the playoff picture, but I still think they probably sell off, but they're still looking at like being where the Reds are. A game, 2 games back, and when you have the ball in McGreevy's hands, you don't feel like you're guaranteed a loss that day. You feel like you're getting a fighting chance, and you just feel better about the Cardinals as a whole. Now that we're looking at them 5 games back, they're 4-6 in their last 10, and sure, they've won 2 in a row at Miami. It's hard to look at the Cardinals and get excited about what they're building, what they're trying to do. But if they were right here in this playoff race and they were 2 back, and you could at least, if you were a Cardinals fan and optimistic, you could at least go, okay, there's still a chance, right? There's still that chance. I think that's what they cost themselves by deciding to continue to run out Eric Fetty when it was clear it just was not going to get better.
I think it's more PR than it is anything that would have tangibly changed. And you look back to what he did against the Cubs, and everybody was saying, that has to be it. You can't go back to him after that. And there was a way to do it. All you had to do was say, hey, we're not going to go back to him. We're going to skip his next start. And we'll find out if there's anything that we can do to make this better behind the scenes. Or you say we're skipping the next couple of starts and working behind the scenes to either trade him or DFA him or figure out what we're going to do waivers-wise. And they opted against. So I think it was more a bad look publicly and a bad look for the fans than it was anything that really changed what they were going to be. I think we have seen at this point in the season where, more than 100 games into the year, more than 120 games into the season, this team was not going to compete for the playoffs. They're not good enough. They don't have the roster talent necessary to be that kind of a team. I fell for it. I bought in. I was wrong. I think we have now seen that was never going to be, no pun intended, in the cards for this team. And I don't think bringing up Michael McGreevy was going to change that. So it sucked. I didn't enjoy watching those last few Eric Fetty starts, but I don't think it was actually going to change a whole heck of a lot in terms of what they were capable of this season. With T-Bone and Bradford on BK, NFL Quick Hitters is coming up next.
We want to hear from you. Use the Scott Lee Mic Drop feature on the 101 mobile app. Give us your opinion on anything St. Louis sports with a mic drop.
Brought to you by the Scott Lee Heating Company.
This is exactly where you want to be listening to us. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN.
Alongside T-Bone and Bradford on BK, it's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Alex out today. He'll be out the rest of this week, back in next Tuesday. T-Bone, there's a few different things that I wanted to get your thoughts on as we go through some NFL quick hitters. The Athletic put out their ranking of the top 25 players under the age of 25 heading into the 2025 season. A lot of 25s there. At number 1, they had Jamar Chase. Number 2, Jalen Carter, the defensive tackle for the Philadelphia Eagles, who ate the Chiefs for lunch in the Super Bowl. Number 3 was Jaden Daniels, quarterback for the Commanders. Number 4, Aiden Hutchinson. And at number 5, tight end Brock Bowers. My question for you, and yes, for you, Bradford, if you could build around any one NFL non-quarterback, you're starting a team, you're doing the old Madden fantasy draft, right? You're building around one non-quarterback. Who would you want to build around, T-Bone?
Oh, man.
Take into account position, take into account age. Don't worry about the contract, but if you had to build around one NFL player, who would you go with?
Boy, non-quarterback, I think I would do Jamar Chase. I think he would be the guy that I would want to build around. I mean, that guy is a difference maker. I was debating between a couple of wide receivers, but I think if you have to start a team and you're not starting at the quarterback spot, to me, you have to start with the playmakers, and more specifically at the wide receiver room, because running backs scare me to death because of just how often they can get injured. I think Jamar Chase would be my guy. He's 25 years old. He's put together incredible seasons. I mean, he had 1,700 receiving yards and 17 touchdowns last year. Like, 4-time Pro Bowler, that's my guy. I would go Jamar Chase is the one that I would want to build around. And let's be honest, Jamar Chase could probably uplift a lot of bad quarterbacks.
A little bit of an aside here. I'm not sure exactly when Justin Jefferson was usurped by Jamar Chase. I guess that's neither here nor there. No, Chase is a very worthy candidate. But, BK, I'm really taking into consideration what you said about position in particular, because if I am thinking about a wrecking ball type to totally transform one side of the football, specifically on defense, I'm not sure how you can look past Jalen Carter. Going into year number 3 now, you're well aware of his work from last season. The fact that he can single-handedly transform the way in which your defense can get after it. How did that work for Aaron Donald on the Rams for so many years? Tanner, you can attest to that. That particular position, especially when you get later in the regular season into the playoffs, if you can both get that penetration, be able to stiffen in the run game, and be able to penetrate and get into the opposing backfield, I think it's undeniable. He is a linchpin.
This guy isn't under the age of 25. He is 26. But Micah Parsons has been in the news for a reason, man.
Okay.
He's a superstar talent. If I could start my team with any one player, I'll go with the guy that I think is the best defensive player in football right now, and that's Micah Parsons. He should be paid by the Cowboys. What they're doing is crazy. They're costing themselves more money every day that they choose not to pay him what he is worth right now. I don't care what the sack numbers say. They've been good but not elite every season that he's been in the NFL. This guy's a menace. When he's on the football field, you can feel his presence. He's faster than any man his size should ever be. He can play edge rusher. He can play linebacker. He could probably line up on the interior if you really wanted him to. There'd be no reason to ask him to do that, though. He can do a little bit of everything, and I can move him around my defense depending upon what my personnel is around him. Micah Parsons would be the guy that I would start my football team with. That guy on my defense, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about it.
In this era, are you a little less inclined to go interior defensive tackle because of the way in which the game is spread out? Is that why you're maybe pushing edge?
No, I just think that he's a better player.
Okay.
I would be more than like if Aaron Donald was still young and in the league right now, that guy is a difference maker, the likes of which you can't find elsewhere. I don't care about the position. That guy's a superstar. Jalen Carter's a stud. He's a really good player. I just don't know that he's at, Aaron Donald's level just yet. And I think Micah Parsons is.
Yeah.
I think Micah Parsons is roughly at that level.
One guy that probably would have pushed his name into this if he hadn't had such a bad injury, and we'll see what he looks like this year in his first year back, is Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, that guy, when he last year in 5 games prior to his injury, had 7.5 sacks. Like, that guy was on, it looked like going to have his Micah Parsons breakout season. But if I were building a team, like if you said, hey, what are the 2 spots if you were looking at this to build from, not quarterback, Number one would be wide receiver for me, and number two would be edge rusher, because we've seen that guys like Parsons, T.J. Watt, why am I drawing a blank on his name in Vegas?
Crosby.
Crosby makes the Chiefs scared every time he plays them. Why? Because he's always in the face of Patrick Mahomes.
Scares me as a Chiefs fan every time that he is anywhere close to my quarterback. Speaking of quarterbacks, the Colts benched Anthony Richardson. He's not going to be their starter. It sounds like he's not going to be on the team. According to his agent, they're going to have a conversation with the Indianapolis Colts about his future, and my assumption is they'll probably request a trade. Now, will the Colts grant it? I'm not sure. But, T-Bone, if he were granted his trade request in the event that he asks for one, where would you like to see him go? Which team do you think should be the first to call the Indianapolis Colts and offer the best possible package for Anthony Richardson, which I'm guessing won't have to be a lot. Probably like some kind of a 4th round pick that can go up depending on playing time. Something like that.
I would say Saints would be the one. I know they just drafted, what's his name? Shook from Louisville. I don't know how much upside there really is in that draft pick. There's at least some upside to Anthony Richardson. I would say Saints. The other one I thought about, mostly because why not carry 5 quarterbacks, is the Cleveland Browns. I mean, you're starting Joe Flacco. You clearly don't think Shedeur Sanders or Dylan Gabriel has enough upside to beat Joe Flacco going into week 1. Would you be willing to bet on Richardson to try and take that opportunity? Those are the 2 teams for me.
I like the Saints. I still keep going back, though, years on end, guys. The fact that we saw 12 games, to be precise, in college for a 6-7 Florida team, and we all fell in love with the upside. We fell in love with the massive tools. Everybody fell for it. And yet, you had nothing really in terms of work of substance there on the page. The physical tools, undeniable. He can go wherever now. And who knows, as far as the scheme is concerned, maybe somebody can actually extract the most talent possible out of him. But I simply do not see this man, Anthony Richardson, as a viable NFL quarterback for any sustained stretch as number one. I'm sorry. I just don't.
We didn't ask if you thought he was sustainable. We asked what team he should go to. What happened, Bradford?
You don't have a team? You're not even willing to entertain the question.
Sure, I'll go with the Saints. I said big, easy right away. Why not? Because that's
just said the Battlehawks the way you just trashed them.
Wash out wherever you please.
Okay.
That's fine.
I think the Pittsburgh Steelers should call and make the deal. Why not?
Why not? I mean, yeah, you got
Aaron
43-year-old
Rodgers answer right now. Aaron Rodgers is your answer. You have no secondary option. Your offensive coordinator is Arthur Smith, who likes to incorporate the quarterback running game into his offense. His offense is built on deep balls, quarterback running game. Yeah, let's see what Anthony Richardson could look like in that offense. So with DK Metcalf there now as their number one receiver, that could be an intriguing connection between the two of them. I don't think it would necessarily work. I think at this point I've been proven very incorrect about Anthony Richardson. Bradford has been proven very right about the Anthony Richardson. But that's the team to me that I would pinpoint. If I was going to go with somebody else and you were just truly going to do it as a backup, basically any team in the NFC East makes sense to me other than the New York Giants. He could be the backup for Jalen Hurts in Philly or Jaden Daniels in Washington or Dak Prescott in Dallas. I think any of those three would make some sense, but that would just be purely as a backup option for any of those teams. Alongside T-Bone and Bradford, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Before we get out, wanted to ask you one quick question. The Ringer had their ranking of the best offenses in the NFL. I'll give you these ranking from 1 to 5. The Bills at 1, Ravens at 2, 49ers at 3, Green Bay Packers at Bradford's face. Green Bay Packers at 4, the Bengals at 5, and then if you want to go beyond that, it's the Lions, the Eagles, the Chiefs, Commanders, and Cowboys.
Where are the Chiefs? 7th?
They are 8th on this list.
Please.
I guess you disagree with that. Who would you have right now as the best offense in the NFL? I think it's a legit up for debate question right now.
I would go Cincinnati. I think the Bengals have the best offense. Now, granted, I say that it wasn't great. I saw a clip on Twitter of Burrow running for his life in the preseason this week. But, I mean, you got Joe Burrow, who's a top 4 quarterback in the NFL. Jamar Chase, who is maybe the best wide receiver, in my opinion, in the NFL. T. Higgins is on that list. I like Chase Brown at the running back spot. He's not anything sexy, but he's a solid running back.
Homer.
I would go the Bengals. That's who I would say. I definitely think they're better than the Packers. I can't believe Packers are 4.
Cincinnati is close for me. Operating under the premise here that we're looking at the regular season, I will say Baltimore, because I feel as if I know exactly what I'm going to get over the course of 17 games, and I'm not expecting a drop-off anytime remotely soon from Derrick Henry. What I think is asinine, though, about this list, to be quite frank, is the fact that we're elevating San Francisco, even Green Bay, ahead of Detroit. I don't care that Ben Johnson is no longer there, and Kansas City. Are you kidding me? Wow.
So, let me explain a little bit on the Green Bay thing. You know I'm going to cape for my Green Bay Packers.
I like Green Bay, but still.
So here's their offensive efficiency ranks since Matt LaFleur took over as the head coach in Green Bay. 8th, 1st, 2nd, 12th. That was the outlier season in 2022. 6th and 4th last season. They have been an extremely efficient offense every season with Matt LaFleur at the helm. They added in a new receiver this offseason. They still have Josh Jacobs. They've got all of the receiving core from a year ago. Really good offensive line. Obviously, good scheme in place. If Jordan Love takes a step this year, they should be a top 5 offense in the NFL. So I'll cape for my Green Bay Packers, but I understand where you're coming from nevertheless. I thought the one that I totally agree with you on, San Francisco being at 3 is wild.
Agreed.
If they had Brandon Ayuk still, and you felt like, okay, Ayuk's coming back healthy, ready to go for week 1, I don't think that's going to be the case. You expect a pretty significant step from Ricky Pearsall. Kittle healthy for a full season, if you can believe in that. Christian McCaffrey healthy for a full season, if you can believe in that. Trent Williams healthy for a full season, again, if you can believe in that. Sure, then maybe they're in the top 5. That's a lot of parlaying to expect them to be a top 5, much less a top 3 offense in the NFL again this season.
Yeah,
if I was to give my answer on the number 1 offense in the NFL this year, why are we all sleeping on the Eagles? Why couldn't they just be the best offense this year?
Good question.
I don't get why we sleep on, and I think it comes down to this answer, is Jalen Hurts. Because Jalen Hurts continues, in my opinion, to move himself up into this conversation. He's not top 4, top 5, top 6.
10.
I mean, come on, this guy's gotten the team to the Super Bowl multiple times, played well once he's gotten there.
Talent around him has been pretty elite.
Sure.
I mean, he's got the best running back in the NFL, 2 top 12-ish receivers in the NFL, and the best offensive line in the NFL to go along with a very good scheme. So, yeah, if I'm going to give that as a dock for Jared Goff, I'm also going to do it for Jalen Hurts.
Well, I've not seen Jared Goff, get to 2 Super Bowls and be the guy that was like the driving force to it.
A Super Bowl and brought his team to the cusp of doing it 2 other times with the Lions.
Make no apologies for winning, Jalen Hurts.
No, he shouldn't. Jalen Hurts has been great, don't get me wrong, but I don't feel as though I need to put him over some of the other quarterbacks that have been better than him.
49ers, number 1 in the NFC. What year is this?
Are you saying you would take him over like your guy, Matthew Stafford, T-Bone?
Well, right now, Stafford's back's a little questionable, so yes.
Okay.
I'm not taking over like Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Lamar.
Yeah, the top 4. Are you taking him over Jaden Daniels?
Right now, yeah, because I want to see another year from Jaden Daniels.
Okay.
I'm not falling for the whole second-year quarterback thing like I did for C.J. Stroud, so just call my antennas up right now.
I would have him as roughly a top 10 quarterback. I think that's fair.
But I think that's why like people are sleeping on that offense because they just said what you just said, which is, whoa, pump the brakes over there, T-Bone. He's not a top 5 quarterback. He's not top 6. He's not top 7. He's in that 8 to 10 range, and it's more the surrounding cast.
And I view it that way. That is how I view it. And also, I'm pumping the brakes on him because of that elite talent around him. Like that's enough to me. The reason that we all think that the reason that we have mentioned the Cincinnati Bengals and or the Detroit Lions as potential teams in this conversation is because of the elite weaponry, right? Like the Bengals, it's Joe Burrow, sure, but also they have T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, who you just said you would build your team around. The Lions, it's not about Jared Goff. It's about what he has around him. A elite offensive line, 3 really good pass catchers, and a really good running game. Well, all of that exists as well for the Philadelphia Eagles, and I think they have a better quarterback than the Lions do, and they both lost their offensive coordinators this offseason. So I'll just go ahead and take the Eagles, who I think are the best team in the NFL this season heading into the year. And the only reason that I think they probably won't end up as like the number 1 scoring offense is because their defense is so damn good they don't have to try in the 4th quarter again this year. So I think you might not see the numbers represent it, but when you're watching the games, I think week to week you'll see potentially the best offense in the league once again. All right, coming up in 15 minutes, we're going to dive into the junk drawer. But next, we got an update on Nolan Arenado yesterday, T-Bone. It sure doesn't sound like we're going to see him anytime soon. What's it mean for the Cardinals? Talk about it next year on BK and Ferrario.
Sign up to play fantasy football with Adam Wainwright, Lars Nootbaar, and others during Big League Impact's 2025 fantasy football season. Help support some awesome charitable causes handpicked by the participating players. And show off your fantasy skills with the chance to win a variety of prizes. Space is limited.
You can find all the details on how to sign up for Big League Impact's 2025 fantasy football season now at 101ESPN.com.
Text us anytime at 314-399-9646 on the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation text line on 101 ESPN. 101 ESPN Sports Center.
Another well-rounded performance at Lone Depot Park. I'm Bradford Bruns. Your SportsCenter update is powered by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Lars Nootbaar, Ivan Herrera, Wilson Contreras, and Thomas Sajaci had multi-hit games on Tuesday night as St. Louis outlasted Miami 7-4. Mound-wise, Michael McGreevy earned his fifth win, scattering 6 base knocks across as many innings this afternoon. Series finale starts shortly after 5:40 p.m. with Andre Palante opposing Sandy Alcantara. Currently, Pittsburgh pacing Toronto 2-1. Johan Oviedo already through 4 frames there. Later, Central leading Milwaukee visits Wrigley Field. Jacob Mizorowski gets that assignment. Your SportsCenter update was presented by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
They are St. Louis. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN.
An update yesterday from Nolan Arenado. He was kind enough to join the team in Miami while he's hanging out in Jupiter doing his rehab.
What a great
Good
guy.
on him. Said he wanted to be around the guys. It's hard for him not to be around the team. And he gave an update to the media on how he's doing so far. He said he's not yet swinging. He's not yet throwing the baseball. Just doing lower body workouts, taking some ground balls. Wants to return at some point this season if possible, but it's all about getting that shoulder back to full health. T-Bone, if he's not throwing and he's not swinging yet, that would seem to indicate that he's still at least a couple of weeks away from feeling good in either of those areas. And at that point, he's missed, a month of baseball. I would imagine he's going to take some kind of a rehab assignment. That puts you pretty deep into the season to the point where, are we going to see like a week of Nolan Arenado at the end of the year? That's kind of it. That's kind of the feeling that I get as I read these quotes yesterday. What was your impression?
Yeah, mine was kind of similar to that, to where, seeing that he's still not swinging a bat means he is a couple of weeks away at a minimum. And whether that is he does require a rehab stint or not, I'm talking like about this time in September 20th feels like maybe the closest that you see him. And at that point, got like a week to go in the regular season. I don't expect to see Nolan Arenado back as soon as I thought, because I originally thought when they placed him on the IL, this was going to be your typical, hey, he's on there for 10 days, boom, he's right back, and then he's your starter at third base. This feels like he's going to be out for most of the season, if not the rest of the season, and if that's the case, okay, well then they don't have that much of a logjam as we have been talking about. It's become pretty clear Nolan Gorman's going to probably be their starting third baseman for the final month and a half of this season.
Somebody on the text line from the 636, by the way, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. He said, is it possible we've seen the last of Nolan Arenado in a Cardinals uniform? It's possible, yeah. I think that is something you could read into from his comments yesterday. It's entirely possible that's the case. The Memphis Redbirds season, their final series of the regular season, is the week of September 16th through the 21st. That is the week prior to the end of the Cardinals season, where the Cardinals go on the road to San Francisco and then they finish out the season in Chicago at Wrigley. So if he's going to return, my guess is he goes out on a rehab assignment, plays a few games with Memphis, and then that final week of the regular season, maybe he plays in that final regular season series at home against Milwaukee, and then he gets like 8 or 9 games down the stretch, maybe. But to me, that's about as far as I'm willing to go with this, man, because it's going to take time for him to get himself right, especially if we're now, 3 weeks removed from him going on the IL, and he's still not even throwing or swinging the baseball bat. So that has some pretty significant effects on the way that this roster is going to be manipulated. First of all, it means that there's not really a concern with J.J. Weatherholt on playing time, especially right now with Donnie being on the IL.
Yeah.
If you wanted to, you could open up that playing time for J.J. Weatherholt. They're choosing not to. And that may ultimately be considered the right decision. Like it's possible he's not ready yet. He needs to continue getting some seasoning down at AAA. I understand it looks amazing down there. I think we have seen enough now. AAA is different than the big league level. Maybe they just want him to continue to work his way through the minor leagues, take the next month, just keep crushing it down at AAA. That's fine. I'm not necessarily opposed to that. But it's just an indicator on, hey, that seems to be their viewpoint on this right now. The other thing is, it means that Gorman's going to get a really long look here. at second, at third, whatever it may be, whether Donnie's here or out for the foreseeable future, Gorman is really going to get a look. And I think this is a huge few weeks for Nolan Gorman, man. We talked about it yesterday. He is a guy that has the kind of profile that the Cardinals just don't have either on the big league club or in the minor leagues are open today. We talked about how difficult it is to win when you don't get those extra bases. Hey, Nolan, you wanted the opportunity. People have talked in the past about how difficult it is for him to have consistent playing time or for him to show what he's capable of because of that lack of consistent playing time. You're going to get a solid 2 months here to show what you're capable of being in the lineup every single day.
Yeah, and you look at him, he's the guy that I've said all along, like, I feel like we know what he is. He's going to have the 30-game highs and the 30-game lows of, hey, he might be a guy that can carry your offense for about a month, but also be a guy that you just, like, can't stand to have in the lineup because he strikes out all the time for 30 games. His last 30 games for the Cardinals, 245, 333, 469, 803 OPS. That is a guy that you look at and go, okay, we like this. That's a per 162 base, 7 home runs of 37, 97 RBIs. I think if you're the Cardinals, what you're looking at is, okay, is this just another classic Gorman hot stretch for 30 games, or can he sustain this? Can he continue to be about an 800 OPS guy for the final month and a half, the final 30 to 40 games of the season? And instead of this just being a 30-game stretch, can you turn this into a 60 to 70-game stretch? And if that's the case, yeah, I agree. Important stretch for him, but also a stretch that maybe says to the Cardinals, hey, maybe he is kind of figuring out how to make this sustain longer. Every big leaguer goes through slumps, but his are always constant 30-game slumps, then 30 games of success, 30 games of a slump. Can he cut that down? That's what the good players do in baseball. They go through slumps, and they last 15 games.
His OPS is not that much different than Brendan Donovan at this point. Now, Donnie was affected by an injury. There's a lot of context to what I say there. Donnie's a better defender. He brings more value to the table. All of this is true. I'm not trying to say Donnie's bad, Gorman good. You guys know that's not my opinion on the matter. I think Donnie's a much better baseball player than Nolan Gorman. But offensively, this year, they're not all that different. Donovan is at a 750 OPS. Gorman is at a 737 OPS right now. And a lot of that is because Gorman has become a guy that takes a ton of walks. Do you know that Nolan Gorman has 3 fewer walks on the season than Brendan Donovan?
That's surprising.
That feels impossible, right?
Yeah.
Nolan Gorman this year has taken 37 walks. Brendan Donovan on the season has taken 40.
He's drawn 10 walks this month alone with the consistent playing time.
He's taken 200 fewer at-bats than Brendan Donovan.
Jeez.
And he has 3 fewer walks on the season. So his ability to have that plate discipline this year, it's been a huge improvement for him. And it's part of why I kind of want to see what this looks like the rest of the way. If that continues, and he still has the power that he's shown over the last month, as T-Bone mentioned, and really in the month of August, he's been great in that regard. 3 home runs so far this month. That's a player you keep. It's not a player you build around. It is not a superstar, but it is a player worthy of being in the lineup every day in the future. So he could show you something, man. He can absolutely still earn his way onto the team in 2026 or earn his way into the good graces of another team via trade. I personally would lean toward the former, but I understand the latter.
What has made that department so different in 2025? More of that natural growth, the maturation process. What is so strikingly different, especially in the second half?
I truly don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
If I had to guess, I think it is kind of the maturing at the big league level. I think Brant Brown has really connected with him. I heard Ali yesterday on the Gas House Gang on KMOX kind of talking about it of, hey, Brownie worked with him in the offseason. I don't think they live that far from each other, so they were able to connect quite a bit in person. And I think they finally have gotten kind of through to him on, hey, we're looking at specific zones. We want to do damage in specific counts. It's okay to be aggressive, but long as that aggressiveness doesn't take away from your ability of chasing, right? You don't want to be aggressive in chasing out of the zone. That would be the thing that I would probably look at and say that might be the difference.
Early on in his minor league career, he was somebody that took a decent amount of walks, and then his profile changed. He became more aggressive. That's when the strikeout rate increased and the walk rate really started to decrease. And then he kind of got it back under control where he started walking a little bit more. And it's been a steady incline, and then boom, last year it dropped off again. But this year, as the walk rate has increased, we've seen a better version of Nolan Gorman. So this is what he needs to be. Take your walks. This is what Kyle Schwarber has always been, right? And I don't think he's going to be Kyle Schwarber, but the best version of this kind of player takes their walks, makes you come back into the zone, and when you do, I'm going to do damage. That's got to be the profile for Nolan Gorman. And we've started to see it. I want to see even more of it. So for the next 30 days or so, if Nolan Arenado continues to be on the shelf, which it certainly sounds like that's likely to be the case, the more the merrier when it comes to Nolan Gorman. Can I ask you a quick question about an offseason thing, T-Bone?
Yeah, man, what you got?
So when we thought the Cardinals were going to be good this year, or at least we're like in a 1 year retool before really ramping it back up and maybe getting back into contention, we talked a little bit about Kyle Tucker. We all knew not happening, but we talked about it nonetheless, right? He's probably going to get something like $40 million this offseason. Have you seen what's going on with Kyle Tucker?
He's been bad
in Chicago right now.
He's been really bad of late.
Not just bad, he's been benched. He is now getting some time to rest. He's getting some time to reset, according to his manager, because of how bad he has been at the plate. He was booed at Wrigley Field the other day because he recorded an out and did not run to first. In July, he hit .218. Do you know how many home runs he hit in the month of July in 102 at-bats?
He's typically got good pop. I'll go 3.
1. He has hit 1 home run since July 1st.
PCA would never. Actually,
1 home run since July 1st. He now, on the season, because of how bad he's been over the last 6 weeks or so, has an OPS that is dipped down. Now, this is still quite good, but it's dipped down to 821, which is merely good instead of otherworldly, which is what he had been for most of the season. Oh, boy. This is not the kind of thing that I would want to see if I'm a team that is waiting for Kyle Tucker to hit the market for me to pay him, I don't know, $400 to $500 million this offseason. I don't love the idea that as the games are becoming more meaningful and as he gets further into the season, he is getting worse and worse and worse when it comes to the production. Now that the pressure has ramped up, it doesn't appear that he's responding particularly well to it.
What's weird is I wouldn't think that should bug him since he's been in Houston and they've been in playoff teams. Now, I guess maybe the argument would be he's not the number one.
He was just
even then, though, like he still was a guy that would feel pressure if they weren't playing well.
Not like this, man. The guy was always Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman, Yordan Alvarez. Some of their starting pitchers were in front of him. He was like, what, 6th or 7th on the pecking order of the guy that would get the most pressure in any individual game? That was never his role with Houston. He was always an excellent player. He was well overqualified for being in the role that I'm describing right now, which is why those Houston teams were so freaking good. But he was never this. He is now the number 1 franchise icon, or was at least expected to be that coming into the season for the Chicago Cubs. If he gets paid $500 million from somebody, he will be expected to produce in a way that is at this level or better every season of his major league career moving forward. So, yeah, I think this is quite different than what he was when he was with the Houston Astros.
Yeah, I would be weary of giving him a $500 million contract once you get into the offseason, especially if this continues for the final month and a half, and then when they get to October, if he's invisible. My thing is just because we've seen it disappear from ball players like that, right? Snap of the finger and it's just gone. Look at how quickly it went for Nolan Arenado. Look at how quickly it went for Paul Goldschmidt. I wouldn't think that should be a problem for him because he is younger, but baseball's a weird sport, man. Like, they figure you out in a heartbeat. The one thing that makes me still, like, somewhat hopeful that he's going to figure it out, and I say that as knowing he's on the Cubs, but just so he gets his bag when the offseason. You know, since the All-Star break, he has still more walks than strikeouts. He's still getting on base at a good clip. I think he's going to figure out what's going on, and he's going to get back to being himself.
I'm not necessarily worried about him. I think he's going to be a good player. He is a good player, and he will continue to be a good player. What I would worry about if I was a team that was going to pay him $400 to $500 million is how will he respond mentally to that? What will it be like when all of the pressure is now on you to perform every single day, especially if I'm in a market like New York, like Boston, like Philadelphia, or where he's at right now in Chicago, where I have this crazed fan base that is extremely into what is happening on a day-to-day basis and very passionate about it and very vocal about when you struggle. If he's getting booed in Chicago, what do you think that would look like if he goes to the coast? So I think he could potentially be a better fit with like LA or San Francisco or Seattle, something like that, or maybe it is that's the other thing about Houston. It's not exactly a rabid baseball town. It is very much more of a football town. Football right now, I worked in Houston for a summer. football is a bigger topic in Houston right now than the Houston Astros are. And that was the case when they were going through their World Series runs as well. They would get into the playoffs, and the topic on a day, the lead topic would be the Texans while they're going through their playoff runs. So, yeah, it would give me pause. What we're seeing right now would give me pause. He can make this up if he goes on to have like a crazy postseason run, but this would definitely give me a little bit of concern if I'm one of those teams. All right, next, the junk drawer here on 101 ESPN.
It's an MLB weekend on ESPN. Yankees and Red Sox. Game 1, Saturday. First pitch, 12:05. Then Sunday, it's Game 2. First pitch, 6:10. The MLB plays on 101 ESPN. the picture. The real big St. Louis sports picture. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN.
A new moon was discovered, T-Bone.
What?
Yep, it's orbiting Uranus.
I have some questions.
According to a story released today by NBC News, it is so small you could literally walk it in 2 hours.
What?
Are you as fascinated by space as I am?
No.
Really?
My mom loves it. Like, she took us as kids to the International Space Station in Orlando. Is that right? Somewhere in Florida.
Cape Canaveral?
Yeah, that's it.
Nice.
We went to that, and let me tell you, so bored. So bored walking around there as a kid.
Really?
So bored. I have no care for it whatsoever.
I find it all fascinating. Like, the ocean fascinates me. It scares me to death. Space fascinates me. Scares me to death.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like an endless, darkness.
Yeah, we have no idea. Like, we are still discovering stuff. We've been on this earth for God only knows how long. I don't need to give them that discussion. That's a theology podcast. But we've been on this earth for a really long time. And there's a lot that we don't know about. Like 70% of the ocean, we have no idea what's going on down there, dude. We just finished the documentary on the Ocean Gate, the little submarine thing.
Oh, yeah.
That imploded. We just finished the documentary on that. By the way, I think it was pretty well done on Netflix. And the idea that, like, hey, this is pretty far down, but it's like 1/100th of how far the ocean goes down in other areas. It's crazy to me. And then you think about that. And then you think about how minuscule we are compared to this city, compared to this globe, compared to all that is out there in outer space. And then there's stuff like this. There is apparently a moon around Uranus that is roughly 90 football fields across. And it was discovered very recently. And now you think about how long we've been trying to find stuff in outer space. We just found this thing in February.
This thing was probably mistaken for a little asteroid.
That's crazy to me.
Let's not talk about
I
asteroids,
find it all
please.
really.
Those alarm me.
Oh, so you get anxious about this stuff too.
That I do.
So you two probably were terrified when it was like a couple months ago when that report came out. There was like, hey, there's like a 2% chance that like a human extinction
anymore.
level asteroid has the chance to hit Earth.
Remember Don't Look Up, the movie that came out this couple of
With
years ago
DiCaprio?
now? That would have been me. I would have been the guy that's like, no, it's not happening. It's not happening. It's not happening. We've heard this before. It's not happening. And then it would hit the Earth. I'd be like, oh, damn. It really happened this time.
Which is interesting for a guy that has anxiety when he's like thinking of flying in a plane. I would think you'd be the opposite of that. I would think you'd be the guy that's like, oh, 2% chance. Oh, it's so hitting us.
No. It doesn't do it for me. I'm in a plane and I assume we're going to combust because we're going to hit another plane that's flying in the air. That though feels more real to me. I'm in the plane. I see other planes going across the sky. This feels real to me, right? It's totally like a nonsensical thing, but it doesn't feel real to me that any kind of an asteroid could hit us. Obviously, it's possible. Ask the dinosaurs. But it doesn't feel real to me.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I don't understand you.
I'm scared, guys. I'm scared.
Yeah.
Every other month. It's an
a
alarming
wild ride up
report.
here. Let me put it that way.
Apparently.
Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll get into more likely to happen. You guys give us two scenarios. We'll tell you which one is more likely. Coming up next, T-Bone's all in on the Nathan Church experience. We'll talk about it here on BK and Ferrario.
KXOS, WXOS HD1 East St. Louis, 101 ESPN is driven by Brown and Krugman Law Firm. With hosts Anthony Stalter, Tim McKernan, and Scott Rizzuto. Check out the latest from the Spread Zone at 101ESPN.com or the 101 mobile app. The Spread Zone is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. We're right back to more of it. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN.
With T-Bone and Bradford on BK. So can Nathan Church work his way into the Cardinals' plans? T-Bone, I'm going to leave this open-ended for you. You seem to be all in on the experience. How you feeling about your boy Nathan Church?
Well, you know, offensively, we're still looking for our first big league hit.
Hitting the ball hard, though.
Yeah, that is true. He is making hard contact, which is a positive sign.
Heck of a bunt, too.
Oh, yeah.
Got his first RBI.
You want to talk about playing to my heart. Because let me tell you, Scott, for a guy that worked on it all season long, not great at bunting.
That's true.
I was very skeptical of the whole everybody saying, hey, like, give Church runway, give Church runway. And to be fair, I still am because I would rather start Newbar in center field.
3 games later, you're ready.
I'm not ready to say I'm ready. It's more of a tinfoil theory that I'm coming up with here.
Okay.
On the fly, kind of. But if you're the Cardinals and this was a season about runway, and he clearly didn't view Church in that conversation because he wasn't even on the 40-man until 4 days ago, would you only give him runway if you thought he might be able to take Victor Scott's job? Or at minimum, just be serviceable enough while he's on the IL to at least go into spring training next year and say, you two it's time to deke it out for the starting center field job in 2026. And the reason I bring that up is defensively, he looks very good in center field. He looks to be maybe not the same level of Victor Scott, but not as far behind as I was expecting when he got up here. And it's not like there's a huge offensive ceiling on Victor Scott that we've seen so far this year. He's got a 623 OPS. He is, quick math, 23% below league average so far here. Both hit left-handed. And if Nathan Church can provide some offensive upside, couldn't there then be an argument to potentially put him in center field? He still would remain defensively strong with him out there, but he just provides a little bit more with his bat. It's the only reason that I kind of bring this up is I don't know that I just buy the whole, like, hey, we're giving Church runway because of his defense. I think they're giving him runway to see if he can potentially keep his 40-man spot going into the offseason and compete for Victor Scott's job.
Yeah, no. I think it is purely the first part of that, to keep the 40-man spot. I think that's all this is. Hey, is he a guy that could be on the 40-man and contribute as depth in 2026? I think what we have learned is they value defense in center field. That's been the whole lesson of the last really 3 seasons of Cardinals baseball, 2023, 24, and 25. They value defense in center. Now, that doesn't mean that you think that is the correct way to go about it. You can disagree with how much that they value defense, and I think there's a reasonable argument on either side. I personally would probably lean more on I think they overvalue it a bit, but I understand where they're coming from with it, given how much it bit them in the ass a couple of seasons ago. But Nathan Church, to me, stands as a 0% chance of taking Victor Scott's spot away from him. I think Victor Scott has much more offensive upside. I think we haven't seen it yet at the major league level. But if you look into his minor league numbers, dude, he showed the potential to be a really good offensive player. He has a pretty good walk rate in his history. He does not have a significant strikeout rate in his history. And that's changed once he got to the big league level. Guess who else it probably will change for? Nathan Church. He was dominating at AAA, but as we have seen for the Cardinals and elsewhere, that does not always translate to success in the majors. So can Nathan Church earn his way onto and stay onto the 40-man roster this offseason? Sure, I think that's what this runway is for. But what I think he's getting this runway for, T-Bone, is because they don't want to play Nootbaar in center fields. They don't have another option in center fields. So it became Church versus Ciani, and they're not interested in finding out what Ciani is. You might as well use this opportunity for Church. I don't think it has anything to do with Victor Scott.
The only reason I think that is, you mentioned the offensive upside for Victor Scott. I don't know what it is. I think he's better than what he has been this year, but I don't know by how much, because we always mention his upside offensively. He showed that at AA. He did not show that at AAA for the Memphis Redbirds. He went to Memphis last year after getting called up here in a weird spot. Like, he got thrown into a terrible situation last year. Correct. So I am kind of comping for him there. he was not good at AAA last year. 210, 294, 303. That's a 597 OPS at the AAA level for Victor Scott II. Nathan Church showed more at AAA this year for the Memphis Redbirds from an offensive standpoint.
Can I include age in this conversation, or is that something that we write off completely?
Sure. I'll hear the argument for age.
Okay, so Victor Scott last year was 23 years old at the AAA level and did not perform particularly well, but as a 22-year-old at the AA level, hit 325 with an OPS over 800, which is the same age as Nathan Church was. So you're looking at age 22 season. Nathan Church as a 22-year-old was in high A ball, and he had an OPS of 700. So I think age is absolutely a factor in here that plays into development. And I think if you give Victor Scott more time, he could show offensive ceiling, whether it's at AAA level or here, that is similar or, in my opinion, probably better than what we will see from Nathan Church.
Yeah, I still lean towards Victor Scott's probably the guy here, but I don't think this is just hey, this is Victor Scott's job in center field going into 2026. I think it should be viewed as, if Church performs, more of a open competition. And I think competition's good for a rebuilding team. And that's why I throw that out here. That's why I'm saying, take me to Church. I'm willing to have a little bit here with Nathan Church.
I think he is probably going to be your fourth outfielder next year.
Thank you.
I think he is probably going to be an outfielder that works his way into the 40-man roster that starts out at AAA, and if he plays well the rest of this season, that's his role for you. I don't think he stands much of a chance to compete with Victor Scott II. I think we're also underestimating how valuable Victor Scott's defense and base running is to this team. I know you're not the biggest fan of WAR, T-Bone, but if you look at wins above replacement, he has been worth 2 wins this season, Victor Scott has. That's not nothing, man. That's because he's adding 30 stolen bases to your roster, arguably the best center field defense in all of baseball. And I don't think you can just automatically assume that Nathan Church will bring both of those things to the table. So if Church is also not great offensively, which he doesn't look great offensively, he's hitting the ball hard, but that's about it. I think that the Victor Scott profile is such that I'm willing to continue to bet on it. I think he's the guy that I would want to see get more opportunities in center field. He's also still only 24 years old, man. This is still a very young player that did not spend a whole lot of time in the Cardinals minor league system. I think there is an expectation that over time you will continue to see him progress as an offensive player. I think there's still a lot more upside left in him.
And Church, by all accounts, has wheels.
24 too, by the way.
What does this team...
Church, 24.
Okay.
It's true. What does this team lack specifically? What were we discussing in the office before, well, among other things, before the program even began? Transformative speed. Victor Scott II is on another level in that realm. You can't possibly write that off or diminish it. When you are that far above and beyond in one category, to me, that is an elite skill in much the same way you talk about Gold Glove caliber defense, for example. You can't just basically diminish that.
Sure. I don't want to... I'm debating making this comment, but I'm going to.
Go ahead.
The stat of WAR, the reason I don't like it is because when I look at a player like Victor Scott and his is 2.2. Like, it feels high to me for Victor Scott II. I don't think he's a 2 wins above replacement player. I just don't. I mean, I look at his bat, and he's 23% below league average. I understand his defense.
You don't value
I think his defense is... He is a good defender, but I think it gets overvalued in the formula for WAR.
Right. That's what I'm saying. And you don't value defense. And that's okay,
my biggest thing
But
here.
if you don't value defense, you're not going to see that same value in a player like Victor Scott, and you don't value the stolen bases the way that it does. So, like, he is, this year, according to Baseball Savant, for example, one of the top 5 defenders in all of Major League Baseball. And then it becomes the evaluation part. This is what the Cardinals are doing this year with their entire roster. He's just a microcosm of it. The evaluation of Victor Scott is very simple. He's not been a good offensive player this year. He's been not just good, an elite defender. What value does that bring to the table? How do you value that? Just like with Nolan Gorman, he's not a very good defender. He doesn't hit for average and probably never will, but he brings something to the table with his left-handed power that you don't have anywhere else right now within your organization. So how do I value that? They have a lot of pieces right now on this roster that bring one, if not elite, really high-level skill to the table and a lot of other warts that are associated with their profile. And then it becomes a question of twofold. One, how do we value that skill? And two, is there a way for us to improve the other stuff? Can we improve Victor Scott's bat? Can we get Nolan Gorman to either hit for a better average or become a better defender? And if not, okay, what do I do with this? What do I do with what they currently bring to the table? And is it something that I can continue to build around? For me, Victor Scott II is one of those players. I'll bet on the bat. I think it will get better. But more importantly, given his position in center field and given what he already brings to the table, both defensively and with his base running ability, I think that's a really valuable piece. But it requires, if you're going to build around this kind of a bat in center field, and Mason Wynn, who, let's say he's just an average offensive player moving forward, if those are two pieces of this roster, you better have really freaking good middle of the lineup hitters. Because that means that you've already locked into place, most likely, catcher, center field, and shortstop as average or below average bats. That's a third of your lineup. You can't then also plug in a bunch of average bats elsewhere. Otherwise, you end up with what you have, which is a below average lineup. You need to have middle of the order bats. Victor Scott makes that necessary. Mason Wynn makes that necessary. Pedro Pajes or whoever else they have behind the plate, unless they get one of like 3 catchers that actually hit, they make that necessary. So it all comes back to how do you value that defense? T-Bone doesn't. It's okay. That doesn't mean that you're wrong and I'm right. Baseball teams value this differently, right? Like there are different organizations that will say
Phillies don't value defense.
Right. There are different organizations that'll say we prefer the bat over the defense, and then some others like Milwaukee, they've created the best team in baseball this year in part because they really value defense. They really care about it. Defense, athleticism, base running, contact, that is the stuff that they care about. Run prevention is a huge deal for them. Cardinals have made that a priority for themselves, and Victor Scott currently plays into that at least. With T-Bone and Bradford, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Thanks for coming to my sermon. Coming up next, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. You give us 2 scenarios. We'll tell you which one is more likely to happen here on 101 ESPN.
You can now listen to 101 ESPN on demand. Get caught up on all our shows and podcasts at 101ESPN.com or on the 101 mobile app. 101 ESPN podcasts are presented by the Schaefer Door Company. With hosts Anthony Stalter, Tim McKernan, and Scott Rizzuto. Check out the latest from the Spread Zone at 101ESPN.com or the 101 mobile app. The Spread Zone is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more.
Enter to win for a huge party pack of sliders and fries from Small's Sliders right now at 101ESPN.com. Small's Sliders is famous for serving up the freshest cooked-to-order cheeseburger sliders, crispy seasoned waffle fries, and they have even teamed up with Dr. Pepper for the brand new Dr. Pepper Swirl Shake, available for a limited time. Now with 2 locations in Bridgeton and their newest spot located at 15751 Manchester Road in Ellisville. Get entered to win that delicious party pack of sliders and fries from Small Sliders right now at 101ESPN.com or on your 101 mobile app.
This is exactly where you want to be, listening to us. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN. What's more likely to happen? They'll figure it out. BK and Ferrario's most likely to happen.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for more likely to happen. You guys give us 2 scenarios. We'll tell you which one is more likely here on BK and Ferrario. All right, T-Bone, let's start out with this one. More likely to be traded this offseason by the St. Louis Cardinals. I think you'll enjoy this. Andre Palante or Victor Scott II?
No. Cardinals overvalue defense, in my opinion, so Scott stays. So I think it would be Palante. And I think Palante will still hold decent value on the market just because he's a guy that's proven he can start in the big leagues, give you 5 innings. It's going to be a roller coaster throughout the year, but give you 5 innings, he'll be cheap, about $5 million. That kind of guy will still carry some value, so I'd say more likely Andre Palante.
Have arm, will travel, right? I will go with Palante in this instance as well. I am not going to jump into that territory with respect to Scott any longer. It's Palante, but if we're being honest.
I actually think Palante's a pretty good trade chip this offseason for the Cardinals.
Could be.
He's got 3 years of club control remaining. He's going to start getting, relatively speaking, expensive in the not-too-distant future. Next year, probably $4 million. The year after that, you start getting into the $7 or $8 million range. And then by that final year of arbitration, if he's still good, a productive big leaguer, you're talking about like probably $12 million in that final season as a starter. So I think this is probably around the time where you would consider trading him just to extract full value while he's still cheap. And every team across Major League Baseball could use a starter like that. That's a hell of a lot better than going to the market to find your 5th starter by acquiring a guy that's cost controlled like that. So I think that he might actually be pretty decent trade chip for the Cardinals this offseason if they wanted to go that route. I do not think they will be doing that with Victor Scott II. T-Bone?
Guys, we were talking off air during one of the commercial breaks earlier in the show about the AFC West. And we were talking about, hey, the Chargers, kind of an interesting team. Broncos, don't know what their ceiling is, but they're fun. Got a great defense. Raiders could be another one of those teams that's interesting. Guys, more likely to happen. Chiefs go 6-0 in the AFC West this year, or they go 2-4.
6-0. Don't even have to take a second of thought. Andy Reid doesn't lose 4 games in the AFC West. Doesn't happen. He's lost 17 since taking over in 2013.
The AFC West typically has been very bad when he's been there.
Yeah, I don't think that's fair. I think that it's mostly
I don't think
solid.
it's had all 3 teams in that division be like this.
I mean, there was a couple of years ago. Remember when the Broncos traded for Russell Wilson? You had Justin Herbert. The Raiders had just had Derek Carr, I think it was at the time. People were legitimately excited about the division. There was thought that the AFC West had maybe the best quarterback situation in the league of any division, and then it just didn't work out the way that people thought. It's almost like that happens sometimes. That very well could happen again this year. It's possible Geno Smith just doesn't have a good season with the Raiders, and he was actually propped up by the supporting cast in Seattle. I don't think that's the case. I like Geno. It's possible that people figure out Bo Nix a little bit this year, and that offense doesn't look as good as it did a year ago. It's possible the Chargers' offensive line is once again a problem as Rashawn Slater is going down for the season. So I think it is much more likely that the Chiefs go 6-0 than 2-4.
Yeah, Tanner, you are proposing that the boat totally capsizes. I can't buy that whatsoever, man. Kansas City still, to me, while it may not be able to run through the division totally unblemished, I'm looking right now at that cast, and I'm still looking at the relative lack of playoff experience elsewhere. I know a lot of people, yourself included, BK, are a little more bullish, I think, on Denver than I am at present. I still actually like, believe it or not, Los Angeles to finish second in that division, and Las Vegas sneaky in terms of the number of wins it actually could poach from any of these squads in the division.
Yeah, I would say more likely they go 6-0.
Yeah, okay.
I bring it up because I do think this is the best the division itself has been in a while.
True. I do agree with that.
I also think this is the best the Chiefs have been in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Like this is now they finally have settled in on the wide receiver room for Patrick Mahomes. Running back will be a little bit of a question, but I think Pacheco's going to ultimately be fine now that he's healthy again. O-line's been improved. And their defense, by the way, still great defense. Yeah, I think the Chiefs more likely they go 6-0.
Bradford?
Back to baseball, here we go. The Cardinals seem to provide a nice little tonic for what was ailing the Yankees, banging out 9 home runs yesterday, 4 wins in a row, 6 of their past 7. I'm going to be bold here, guys. More likely to happen. Toronto currently down. Vlad Jr. hangs on after all in the AL East, or New York musters a run and chases down those Jays.
I'll stick with Toronto. I just think they're the better overall team. I don't believe in the Yankees, man. I don't think that the Yankees are a great baseball team. I think that the Yankees are a team that hits the ball far occasionally, and when they do, they look really good. But beyond that, it's just a team I have a tough time believing in, man. They do so many of the little things poorly, and that adds up to become a big thing eventually. So I'll stick with the Toronto Blue Jays.
I think I'm going to go Yankees here. I think the Yankees will catch them. What does it say when the second best player in WAR, second, third best players in WAR for the Blue Jays are Ernie Clement and Eric Lauer? No offense to those guys. Those guys were not household names. Blue Jays feel like a mirage to me. I think they are going to be a team that loses the division. Yankees catch them, even though the Yankees are a flawed baseball team. I agree with that. I think they catch them. I think Blue Jays are going home early in the playoffs.
And noted WAR believer, Tanner Hendrickson. Go ahead.
Maybe I have some...
I think that proves my point on WAR.
Maybe there's still some misplaced trust, justifiably so, in the bullpen, but you have to think beyond a Luke Weaver that particular core, it gets it together at some juncture. And I'm looking at the schedule too. Yes, I know it's all relative, but coming up, you have a flurry of games against the likes of the White Sox, talking about the Twins, the Orioles. You still have 3 head-to-head games against the Blue Jays for that matter. And it would have to also behoove the rotation to be able to have a Luis Gil moving forward. I still think there's a lot of time, and Toronto does have a lot of holes. I'm liking the Yanks, I do.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. If you guys have a scenario, we'll tell you which one is more likely here on BK and Ferrario. More likely to happen from the 314. More likely Carbonneau gets a 9-game tryout at the NHL level, or Dvorsky plays at least 20 NHL games this year. I'd go Dvorsky. I do not see a scenario now, given where their roster is at, for Carbonneau to get a 9-game trial.
I agree. I don't think Carbonneau's going to get the 9-game trial, and for Dvorsky to get 20 games, it just comes down to injuries. If they deal with injuries, I can totally see Dvorsky's the first guy they call up and have him up here at the NHL level, so I'd go Dvorsky 20.
Yeah, you have more depth down the middle, but by the same token, I think that's just much more feasible. Give Carbonneau a full year plus of seasoning, frankly, before we talked about that.
More likely to happen, the Cardinals or the Pirates make the playoffs next year.
Cardinals or Pirates make the playoffs next year?
It's the Cardinals.
Exciting.
Sure.
Yes.
I mean, the Pirates are at least great at something.
Yeah. Well, they're really horrific at the other thing.
I mean, we're not that far behind them in the last 30 games at that other thing.
Yeah. Well, we've played 130 almost. So in the last 30, you're correct. But in the 100 previous, they're pretty different.
I'll say Cardinals, but I think it's closer than we think.
Redbird says, well, look, to wit, and I love the guy. But for the past 2 seasons in the Steel City, you have had Andrew McCutchen at his age hitting 3rd or 4th in that lineup. Yeah. He has been your anchor. Enough said. Enough said.
It's not great. It's not what you're looking for. They do have a really good pitching staff, and they just called up their top prospect as well. So
another pitcher.
That'll be interesting. But offensively, I mean, their best hitter. T-Bone, do you know who their best hitter is this season?
I'm looking at their roster right now. Even looking eyeballing, is it O'Neal Cruz?
Nope.
Is it Tommy Pham?
Nope.
It's not the Bry man.
Who is it?
Nick Gonzalez.
Where is he? Oh, there he is.
He has an OPS of 718. Ooh. That is their best hitter.
That's not ideal. Yeah. They don't have, according to...
718 is roughly where Nolan Gorman is, for context.
They have had 24 players appear in a baseball game this season as a position player / taking at bat. How many would you guess have an OPS plus above 100?
I think 1.
It is 1. and he's not even actually above. He's right at, and that is Leover Piguero, who's appeared in 21 games.
Yeah.
That's
They're really
abysmal.
bad offensively. They're not close to what the Cardinals are. Not close at all to what the Cardinals are offensively. I know what the last 30 games have been, but they are horrific. They have so many improvements that they need to make on that side of the ball. Maybe eventually they'll, invest a little bit.
Nah.
I don't see that coming. Coming up next, Chris Kerber, the voice of the Blues, here on 101 ESPN.
101 ESPN is powered by Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's injury lawyers. Call 314-500-5000.
We've got your chance to win a 4-pack of passes to Monster Jam. Saturday, September 20th at the Dome at America's Center. Get ready to cheer, scream, and be amazed as massive Monster Jam trucks and world champion drivers take over St. Louis for the ultimate day packed with high-flying action and jaw-dropping stunts.
Get all the info and enter to win that free 4-pack of tickets for Monster Jam. Now at 101ESPN.com or on your 101 mobile app.
Anthony Stalter back with you for Mosby Building Arts. And you know that a kitchen is more than a place to cook. It's where families connect. And now through August 31st, you can save up to $5,000 on kitchens with timeless design and exceptional craftsmanship, all from Mosby Building Arts. You don't even have to have the money up front. They offer flexible payment options so you, the homeowner, can enjoy a beautiful functional space now and pay over time. Call Mosby.com is where you can find the details. Mosby Building Arts, the right remodeling company.
Bet like the pros with the world's largest sports book right at your fingertips. Circus Sports is now available in Illinois. Hi, I'm Derek Stevens. I've been a lifelong sports bettor, and I'm the owner of Circus Sports. We're excited that the Circus Sports app is now ready for action. Experience big app bets with high betting limits, tight money line splits, and more. Now you can download, fund, and bet like a pro from anywhere in Illinois. Download your new bookie today at circusports.com. If you or someone you know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER or text ILGAMB to 833-234.
When it comes to unmatched service and expertise, Classic Air Care is the HVAC provider your neighbors depend on and you can depend on as well. They're backed by decades of experience, continuous training, and their team offers the whole St. Louis area and surrounding regions. They offer the homeowners, businesses, anybody that needs it, the highest standard of service. From effortless online booking, free estimates for a new HVAC unit, how about 24/7 emergency service and comprehensive maintenance plans as well? They make it easy and convenient for you to keep your home or business running smoothly. So discover the Classic Air Care difference. They take care of the Kerber household. They will take care of yours with the same great service that has them with a 4.8 Google rating. It's Greater St. Louis's and St. Charles's trusted home services company, providing top quality HVAC service since 1926.
The Redbird Report, your front row seat to all things Cardinals. From the dugout to the diamond, BK and T-Bone go deep with the latest news, notes, and analysis. Watch the Redbird Report on YouTube or listen online at 101ESPN.com. 101 ESPN Sports Center.
Cards look to sweep series against Fish. I'm Bradford Bruns. Your Sports Center update is driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Following a rough stretch at Busch Stadium, the Cardinals appear quite comfortable in South FLA. Ollie Marmol's troops took down Miami 7-4 on Tuesday night for their second straight win. Andre Palante tasked with keeping that momentum going this afternoon. Redbirds Marlins finale action happening about 4 hours from now. Pirates Blue Jays Jays matinee business. Pittsburgh leading 2-1. Detroit blitzing Houston 6-0, while Seattle trails Philadelphia also 2-1. This Sports Center update was driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet plus Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
They are St. Louis. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN.
Happy to go out to the Callier and Thompson hotline to be joined by the voice of the Blues. He's Chris Kerber, joining us as he does each Wednesday here on BK and Ferrario. Kerbs, how you doing today, man?
BK, I'm good. How are you guys?
We're doing really well. So earlier today, we read a piece from The Athletic. We talked about it a little bit on the air. I wanted to get your reaction to this. It's from Dom, who I know you are a big fan of, and his algorithms that they use over at The Athletic. But this one was not using any of those algorithms. It was simply a fan poll. And they asked fans, how confident are you in your front office? The Blues came in at number 10 overall, Kerbs. And last year they were at 23 on this exact same ranking. They got a B+ overall. How do you feel right now in terms of your confidence level in this front office and what they are trying to accomplish?
I think the confidence is extremely high. And, you know, even look, it just shows you it's more the confidence in front office is how a fan might feel about a team at any given moment. I don't put a whole lot of stock in those kind of polls, other than they are fun, of course, to discuss, but or at least dig into, I guess, maybe a little bit. But look, I don't know how anybody, honestly, could have more confidence in their front office in any other team than what the St. Louis Blues have done at this point in time. I can understand Florida, for example, okay, but beyond that, so far in the last 3 years, Doug Armstrong has laid out a plan. He was very upfront and public about it. He's executed that plan from anything from offer sheets to trades of Bolduc to you name it, and to the acquiring of Jim Montgomery as well, things like that. And they're executing it, and the team is delivering on that execution. So to me, I got to think that if you're a Blues fan, or if you're a sports fan right now, especially in St. Louis, you got to have extremely high confidence in what's going on with the Blues front office.
Kerbs, how important do you think it was for Army to accelerate this retool and make sure that he got close to, if not finished, before he handed this thing off to Alexander Steen? The first time GMs it's hard to know what exactly he's going to be once he takes over.
Yeah, you know what, Tanner? Here's the thing. I just had a discussion about some of that with somebody a little earlier today. You know, the challenge is yes, Alexander Steen is going to be taking over as GM after this year. However, Doug Armstrong, you know, is still the president of hockey operations. How that is going to work out, I think the role of general manager, the amount of travel, the amount of time, the amount of conversations, the amount of analysis, I really do think that on top of contract negotiations, making sure everything is running from top to bottom and in a sports operations side of things, I think is such a load on one person. So I don't know yet, to be honest with you. I don't think that the role of general manager moving forward is going to necessarily have the same exact kind of identity that it has right now when it's the president of hockey operations and the general manager in the same role. And look, we saw this happen with the Cardinals. You know, John Mozeliak moves to president of baseball operations. Gersh becomes general manager, and for the most part, you almost never heard from Gersh, right? You know, and so it was still clear who was running. I don't know how this is going to shape out or shake out, but I honestly, I don't know that it was important for Doug to speed anything up to set the table right for Alexander to step into that role. I really think that Doug's singular focus has been, what is the right move to move this team forward from a Blues standpoint specifically? I don't think his motivation is anything about handing things off in a certain way. I know he'd like to, as he said, when you leave, you want to leave it in a better spot than when you got it. That part I understand. But to me, it's just there were opportunities to improve this team sitting in front of him, and he found ways to take it. And I think both he and Alex are doing a great job and continuing to work towards kind of defining how these roles are going to parse out when eventually some of the official moves happen.
That's interesting, Kerb. So you think that it's still in play that while there is this transition taking place, it might still be quote-unquote Army's team, so to speak. Like he's the one that has final call on things.
Well, no, see, that's the part, BK, that I think is going to be defined. And I do think that if you were to ask, let's say 6 months from now, a year from now, because obviously this story will get bigger as the season goes along, I don't know that it's going to be I don't know who will have the actual final say. I really do believe that in some way, shape, or form, a two-headed monster is going to have 90% agreement, right? Now, eventually, things do come down to somebody having to say, this is what we're going to do and this is what we're not. Again, and I'm not trying to say it's going to be one way or another. I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth. I just think that because this is an organization that has not stepped into that world of a president of hockey operations being one role, a general manager being another role, I don't know if the actual how things will work is truly worked out. I think this is a define-as-you-go thing. So I think that Doug Armstrong's experience, his knowledge, his reputation is going to remain extraordinarily valuable and critical to the Blues' continued success while he is in that president of hockey operations role. You know that Alexander Steen is going to listen to it, use it, rely on it as well. And then it'll just be how much room in that role that Doug has does he give Alexander to kind of mold the team the way he wants to do it and where those agreements are. I think it's going to be a well-oiled machine, but from a fan standpoint, I think a very intriguing one to watch how it develops. Because, look, let's go back to I don't know enough. I'm not around the Cardinals enough. I haven't been around the room to know exactly how the role eventually was defined for Gersh, right?
Bigger than what fans would make you to believe.
Yeah, well, that's right. But in the same time, it still wasn't that traditional general manager role, right? The way we used to know it. So that's where I'm fascinated to see how it'll all work out. But the one thing we know is it sure as heck is going in the right direction, isn't it? I mean, it's such a positive piece of momentum right now. So I like the direction that things are going.
Chris Kerber's our guest here on 101 ESPN. Kerbs, last question that I wanted to get your thoughts on. Major League Baseball, there was a big news story over the weekend as Rob Manfred said on Sunday Night Baseball, hey, we're looking at realignment. We're going to add a couple of teams, and then there's a chance for us to realign based upon geographical opportunities here. And one thing that he mentioned was the possibility of having playoff games played in time zones that make more sense. So instead of having New York play against San Francisco in a playoff game, and the New York base is watching that at 10 o'clock Eastern time when that game begins, it would be more geographically located, kind of similar, my belief, based on listening to him, was to what the NHL has done, where they've got the West and the East, and it would be aligned that way instead of like National League versus the American League. If you recall, Kerbs, 10, 15 years ago now, when the NHL realigned its divisional format, how much pushback was there at the time? And do you think it has ultimately been a good thing for the NHL to realign the way that it did?
I don't think there was a ton of pushback. I saw some projections about kind of the realignment. How could you have St. Louis, the White Sox, the Cubs, and say Cincinnati in the same division? First thing that jumps out to you is Cincinnati being in an Eastern time zone. I remember when Detroit really wanted to get to the Eastern time zone because the Red Wings were the only Western Conference team that was in the Eastern time zone, and then until Columbus came in. Well, when they had the expansion, then they moved both Columbus and eventually in Detroit to the east, right? And things kind of sorted themselves out. Listen, I do think that it does make sense geographically to me. But I think baseball truly does have to be careful about how they name it, how they align it, how they do things. I think radical realignment, it's every sport in some way, shape, or form. It does make sense in a lot of ways. The playoff format, the way the NHL has done it, has really cut down on some of the amount of first-round travel, primarily in the West, right, than it is in the East. But to me, BK, I think it's worked out just fine for the NHL. What hasn't worked out fine, in my opinion, for the NHL is when they're trying to balance how do you play the teams in the East and trying to get every team to play each other, right? The fact that you only played the Blackhawks 3 times last year. So in one breath, you're talking about rivalries, and in the next breath, you're only playing your biggest rival a total of 3 times. I think you had to have more games against those rivalries to develop some bad blood and all that kind of thing. And then lastly, along these lines, I do think that, and I use college football as this example, right? The lack of regional rivalries over the last number of years because of the radical conference jumping that's happened in football, I think has hurt the college football scene from this standpoint. Yeah, maybe 2 teams in the Pac-12 weren't good, but when they played each other on a rivalry Saturday, you could still be really interested in that if you were sitting here in St. Louis. Now, games are just games, right? And some of those rivalries are lost. I hate the fact that the Blues really have lost that rivalry with Detroit. I loved it. It was a great one. It was a classic one for a long time, but they don't have that anymore. I'd hate to see Major League Baseball lose certain rivalries if they don't find a way to geographically put new ones in place, and that to me is going to be the give and take of it.
In the intrigue there, Curbs, I actually think that part could be good for baseball. I think not only would they keep most of the regional rivalries that already exist, for example, Cubs versus Cardinals, I think they would be paired together in almost any format that takes place. I think you could see new ones emerge that get to play more often where, like, the Yankees and the Mets could end up in the same division under this kind of a scenario. You could see something like the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Phillies, and the Mets. Like that could be a division under the scenario that they're talking about. So I actually think it could be really good.
I agree with you. I agree with you completely on that point. And I mean, in that sense, should Kansas City and St. Louis somehow be in the same division?
Exactly.
I don't know that the players, from a players association standpoint, if they would go for both the Yankees and the Mets, the Angels and the Dodgers to be in the same division.
Why not?
Or at least to be, because I'm sitting here thinking, if you are, depending on who you are, do you want that trip to New York? Do you want that aspect of it? I do love the idea. And again, this is old. This is a little traditional, old school, and this is one of those things you just have to get used to. Probably isn't the case anymore, right? I love the idea that you could have the Mets and the Yankees in the World Series, or as rare as it might be, the Cubs and the White Sox, right? Or St. Louis and Kansas City. I love that aspect of it. So if we're not going to have that, I'm okay if there's a trade-off of some way. And if the trade-off is there's more games against Kansas City, there's those kind of things, I'll take the trade-off. But I do agree with you that in the end, honestly, a more radical, geographically aligned Major League Baseball does make a ton of sense. It just does, and I think it could help rivalries.
He's Chris Kerber. He's the voice of the Blues. He joins us each Wednesday here on BK and Ferrario. Curbs, appreciate the time as always, man. We'll talk with you again next week.
All right, guys. Have an awesome week. Cheers, everybody.
Same to you. That's Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues. He's going to be at Blues and Brews 101 ESPN as your chance to win a pair of free tickets this year's Blues and Brews on Friday, September 19th at the Anheuser-Busch Brewery. Get fired up for the Blues season at this outdoor street party featuring live music from Grammy-nominated trio The Band Perry. I'm actually really excited to see them live. Plus, appearances by Blues players, alumni, food trucks, on-stage festivities. It's all hosted by Chris Kerber and Joey Vitale. Tickets on sale right now at 101ESPN.com. Find all the details there and find a free chance to win tickets right now at 101ESPN.com. For Tanner Hendrickson and Bradford Bruns, I'm Brandon Kiley. We'll have the rewind next year on 101 ESPN.
Saturday, college football is back on ESPN. Kansas and Fresno State. Pregame at 5. Kickoff at 5:30. The NCAA plays on 101 ESPN.
Checked from behind. Man, that's gotta hurt.
I'd hire Morgan & Morgan if I were them.
What?
Yeah, Dan, America's largest injury law firm. They serve up justice, ice, cold, law. Know what I mean?
I guess.
Their gloves come off when they fight for you.
Okay.
I'm talking a settlement slap shot.
Shouldn't we be talking about the game?
Yeah, Dan. Morgan & Morgan. Proud partner.
Giving you the picture, the real big St. Louis sports picture. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN. Let's run it back with the Daily Rewind on BK and Ferrario. Brought to you by Gloria Lou, your home sold guaranteed realty. Selling your home begins at GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
Sign up to play fantasy football with Wayno, Newt, and others during Big League Impact's 2025 fantasy football season. Help support some awesome charitable causes handpicked by the participating players and show off your fantasy skills with the chance to win a variety of prizes. You can find all of the details at 101ESPN.com for this season's Big League Impact fantasy football season. All right, T-Bone, before we get out of here, I think the biggest thing that I'm looking for tonight in the game is just, does Jordan Walker play? He has been the guy that got the roster crunch. When Nathan Church came up, I was curious, are they really going to play this guy every day in center field? Thus far, the answer has been yes. 3 consecutive games in center. My guess is he'll probably get another opportunity today. The byproduct of that has been Jordan Walker is not getting any playing time right now. I'm most curious to see if he ends up in the lineup tonight.
Would you like to know if he's in the lineup or not? Because I know about the lineup.
Let's use that as a conversation starter for us tomorrow.
Right.
I'll leave that for the fast lane to tell our audience what exactly the lineup is for this evening. For Tanner Hendrickson and Bradford Bruns, I'm Brandon Kiley. If you guys missed anything from today's show, be sure to check it out on the podcast page. 101ESPN.com or the free 101 ESPN app is where you go to find it. That is all sponsored by
Schaefer Door Company.
We will talk to you guys tomorrow at 11 a.m. The fast lane will let you know if Jordan Walker's in the lineup coming up next here on 101 ESPN.
101 ESPN has your chance to win a pair of tickets to the St. Louis Blues home opener against the Minnesota Wild on October 9th at Enterprise Center. Blues hockey is right around the corner, and single-game tickets for the 2025-26 season go on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. This upcoming Blues season is stacked with great matchups, can't-miss giveaways, and fan-favorite theme nights. Get more details and get entered to win a pair of free tickets for the Blues home opener now either at 101ESPN.com or on your 101 mobile app.